Hello, everybody. We're just going to wait a few minutes for everyone to come in, and we'll get started. All right, we already got a good number of people in here so far. Very cool. While you guys are waiting, could you maybe put in the chat something that you're excited to get out of this call, just so we know some of the things that we can maybe focus on as we go through the content? And just say hi. We got Al from Australia. Very nice. Hey, Paul. Wow, we got someone where it's 3 a.m. where they are.
That is a champion effort.
That's dedication right there. I like it. LA, Kuwait, Laguna Beach, Canada. Very nice. I like Canada.
I like Laguna too. It's a nice 17-minute drive.
There you go. All right, so we still have people rolling in, so maybe you want to wait a few more minutes, Sean? What do you think?
I reckon let's give it 60 more seconds and let's jump the fuck in because these guys are eager. These guys are keen.
Yeah, I don't think I can keep waiting.
Me, if you can tell.
Okay, 60 more seconds.
That's good stuff. Maybe type in the chat would be really useful. What are you hoping to get the most? Maybe you guys have done this already. What are you hoping to get out of today the most? What do you want to learn the most? Is it more retaining the clients you have, doing killer work for them? Is it upselling the clients you have? Is it negotiating deals, structuring deals? What are you in particular looking to get out of this?
Yeah, maybe it's something specifically related to sharpening copywriting skills, improving your conversions, building out funnels, email, sales pages.
It looks like there's a whole mixed bag.
Yeah, copywriting skills, upselling, retaining clients, structured deals, better funnels.
Yeah, we'll cover all this stuff. And by the way, a lot of the actual copywriting skills are going to enable you to charge more with your clients. It's going to enable you to negotiate better deals. It's going to enable you to upsell them. So they're not mutually exclusive. They go hand in hand.
That's right. Okay, well, it's been about 60 seconds. I'll keep letting people in as they come.
Yeah, these numbers are going up and up. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. We're already up to almost 40 people.
That's very good stuff.
It's a great crew you got here, Sean.
Big welcome to everyone who just joined us. We're seeing a lot of familiar faces, lots of my students here, which is awesome. Lots of new faces too, which is even more awesome. Yeah. Cool, man. True that. Dude, let's just jump in if you guys are keen.
We're ready. Let's do it.
Let's go for it.
I'm gonna intro these gentlemen. I think most of you guys know me, and most of you guys will know them as well. But just in case you don't, that's totally cool. So I'll start with Sam. So Sam, a good friend of mine. He was actually my original mentor for copywriting, and he's taught me a ton over the years. We started working together about a couple of years ago. He also writes for multiple 8- and 9-figure businesses. Everyone from, I don't know if I'm allowed to say their names, but we'll say the likes of, V-Shred, Steve Weatherford, multiple, just hundreds of millions of dollars a year in copy, personally mentored as well by Stefan, Georgie, and Justin Goff, who are, in my opinion, probably two of the best copywriters in the game. So needless to say, Sam's a super sharp dude. Definitely knows what he's doing when it comes to copy. Tyler, another one of my really good friends as well. He is a literal rocket scientist in that he actually used to be an engineer for NASA, right? And he literally left his job at NASA, left his position as an engineer to start his own software business. He's done a ton of different stuff in the entrepreneurial space. But he has as well built funnels for, was it Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, and some other really huge names as well. So needless to say, he knows what the fuck he's doing as well. So I don't know what these gentlemen have planned exactly on the agenda for today, but I do know it's going to be hugely, hugely valuable. So if you gentlemen would like to take the floor, it's all yours.
Thank you for that glorious introduction, Sean.
Yes, that was beautiful.
It was fantastic. Made my heart sing. So we're really excited to be here tonight or this morning, depending on where you're watching this from. So we're gonna go over a lot of different stuff here. First thing that I will tell you is if you want to be a successful copywriter today, you need to be much more than a copywriter. 10, 15, 20 years ago, if you were a really good copywriter, you could make it a ridiculous amount of money. Nowadays, in the 21st century, as digital marketing gets bigger and bigger and bigger, to really become as successful as you want to be, you can't be a copywriter. You need to be a marketing expert who happens to specialize in copywriting, okay? They're two very different things. A copywriter is just a hired gun who writes some copy. But if you do what I do and what Tyler and I are going to try and teach you how to do on this call, you will become a marketing expert who happens to specialize in copywriting, okay? You need to understand how to craft a winning offer, a compelling offer. You need to understand funnel structure, funnel flow, funnel architecture. You don't need to necessarily build them, but you need to know how high converting funnels work, okay? What makes a compelling offer? What makes a winning offer? You need to know all the different pieces of strategy in that, okay? Reason why this is so important is because, one, it makes you exponentially more valuable to your clients. And you not only come across as more of an expert in authority, you actually are more of an expert in authority, and that will enable you to charge more ultimately. I can't tell you how many early stage client conversations I have with people where they already know that I know what I'm talking about before they've even read a word of my copy, simply because I focus on becoming a digital marketing expert who specializes in writing copy, as opposed to focusing on copywriting and absolutely nothing. Now, you want to focus and dial in on that thing that's going to make you truly great, but you need to understand how the entire machine works, right? Like if you're a mechanic and you only know how one little piece works, you're not going to be able to build a winning race car, right? You need to understand how all of the pieces work, how they fit together, right?
So with that in mind, our goal today is really to broaden the scope of your awareness to include more than just copywriting, but to also get into funnel architecture, which is a fundamental part of copywriting, and also to look at the business and negotiation side of things. Because as a copywriter, we also need to be a funnel expert. We also need to be a closer. These are other things that we normally associate with being a marketer. But when you put all these things together, you become unstoppable. So don't worry, this isn't going to just be about marketing at a high level. We are going to get deep into copywriting specifically, and also funnels specifically, and deal structures and how to keep clients. That's all going to be part of this. We're going to try to not leave anything out. But at the same time, you need to have the right perspective going in. We're trying to broaden your awareness to think more like a marketer. When you do that, everything else will change.
Exactly.
So I would encourage everybody, if you haven't already, make sure you have a place to take notes on your computer or on a piece of paper in front of you. This is going to be very much about giving you actionable insights that you can put into practice in your business right now.
Right. And just as a quick kind of housekeeping note, we'll be stopping every now and again through each section and doing little mini Q&As there so that you can ask any questions on what we just went over because we want to make sure that you guys are understanding every single thing that we're sharing with you. We don't want anything to go by and don't be like, oh, well, I'm not going to ask a question because like no one else is going to have that question. If you have a question, chances are at least 10 other people have it too. They're just not willing to ask it. So just type a question into the chat as it comes up, or when we do a little break for mini Q&As, and we'll get those answered for you. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about, we're actually going to go through a little bit of a case study here. Okay. So most of you are probably familiar with a guy named Craig Ballantyne. Craig is a good friend of mine. He's also a client of mine. And a few months ago, Craig hired me to rewrite his Instagram course funnel, his social story selling system funnel. So he's already converting at a 2-to-1 return on ad spend, meaning for every $1 he put into ad spend, he was getting $2 back, right? But he wanted it to convert higher. So he hired me. And a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about in the first half of this presentation, of this training, we're actually going to use that funnel as the case study. So you can actually see, and I can show you a real world example of what some of these things look like. Okay. So where are we going to start? Well, we want to start with what's arguably the biggest needle mover for copy. Okay. Period. Now, this is incredibly powerful because it works in a couple of different ways. One, it helps you write higher converting copy for your clients. Now, it doesn't matter if you are writing a piece of copy or a sales letter or a VSL from scratch, writing a funnel from scratch, or if they bring you in to beat their control, meaning they want to, like what Craig did with me, they want to get a lift. They want to increase their conversions, their average order value, all of those numbers off of the control, the page, meaning the page they're currently running traffic to. Okay. Now, on top of that, this also works if you're providing a goods in advance offer, right? You are writing copy for a potential client to get your foot in the door so that they will ultimately hire you, okay? This works for all of those things. And there are a lot of different needle movers, but the biggest needle mover, arguably, is the lead, okay? Now, just as a quick refresher, we got the headline, and then the lead, and the goal of the headline is get people to start reading the lead, which means either get them to start reading the sales letter or keep watching the video sales letter, right? And then the whole point of the lead is to get them to keep going through the copy, whether that's scrolling through the text sales letter or to keep watching the video sales letter and ultimately buy, fill out the application, whatever the call to action is, right? So what I'm going to do is I am going to share my screen here. Okay. And we're going to go through some fun stuff, right? Can everybody see my screen? It's looking good?
Type in the chat. Just say yes if you got it. Also, just quick question, Sam.
Yeah.
Just roughly, just so kind of everyone here knows, just ballpark, how long roughly do you expect this training to go?
Tough to say. I'd say maybe like 60 to 90 minutes. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I would say so. Just so everybody knows, our goal for this is to take as much time as we need as opposed to artificially trying to cut it short. We have a certain amount of content that we want to get through because we know that if you only get part of the picture, then it's not going to help you nearly as much as if we gave you the whole picture. So we'll say 60 to 90 minutes, but really we just want to make sure that we can get through everything that you guys need. So hopefully everyone came to stay because we're not messing around.
That's perfect.
No, we're not. Okay, so everyone can see my screen. So this is the original sales page that Craig was driving traffic to. Okay, this was the control that he hired me to rewrite and beat. So the headline is the Instagram secret to turn followers into income, how you can use social story selling to make thousands of dollars per week from as little as 300 followers. Dear entrepreneur, how would you like to wake up to new sales, dozens of leads, and direct messages from highly qualified prospects that want to buy everything you offer? Go from zero to hero in your market. Watch your bank account grow so fast you'll be able to say screw it to the 9 to 5 and have true financial freedom. Grow your business and make money while in line at the grocery store, in the back of an Uber, and even when you're stuck at the airport. Stop chasing clients, have them practically begging you to work with you. I have great news for you. Now, I did not write this. If you want to learn how to turn followers into dollars while doing what you love, then you're in the right place. It all started with a $5,000 Uber ride. So right here, I would actually start by taking all of this $5,000 Uber ride, and starting with that. So the first line of the copy would be, it all started with a $5,000 Uber ride. Now, they're all different kinds of leads, and we're going to go over the main types of leads that you're going to be using with your clients and with your prospective clients, okay? So we've got the curiosity lead, where the whole goal of that is to trigger as much curiosity as possible into the reader, into the prospect. We've got the contrarian lead, where you take a contrarian approach, right? Where you're pushing something contrary to what other people believe. So using Craig as another example, with his fitness business, Turbulence Training, his whole idea was very contrarian. It was, if you want to lose weight, if you want to burn fat, then you need to stop doing cardio, right? It's a very contrarian idea. So in addition to curiosity leads and contrarian leads, we also have social proof leads, right? Now, this could be various forms of social proof. This could be highlighting your biggest success stories, your client and customer success stories with testimonials. It could be social proof demonstrating your own meaning or the client's own credibility, authority, status, right? And then we have the story lead, and what is arguably, it doesn't win every single time, because I've had some projects where that one was not the winner, but more often than not, the lead that's going to win out is the emotional story lead, okay? Stories sell. We are biologically, evolutionarily wired to be drawn in by a compelling and emotional story, okay? So this, I would say this is kind of, and then, by the way, you also have hybrid leads, which are combinations of multiple lead types, okay? We're going to go through each of these. So this is kind of more of like a general lead. It's kind of a curiosity lead. But we're going to go through each of these different types now, okay? So we have this headline, the Instagram secret to turn followers into income, and we just went over the lead. Now we're going to first go over the emotional story lead, because this one is the most important, okay? Now, the headline of this version is how a fitness guru's unexpected heart attack led him to discover a unique, simple, and proven way to turn his Instagram account into an ongoing source of income. Now he's sharing it with anyone who wants to start making money on Instagram, and it works no matter how many followers you currently have, okay? Dear entrepreneur, I thought I was going to die. I was in the best shape of my life, but thought I was having a heart attack for 6 weeks straight. See, at the time, I was an exercise guru whose workouts were featured in Men's Health magazine each month. I was 8% body fat, my business was doing well, so I thought, and my life was a complete and total wreck. I was working 12 to 16 hours a day, getting a max 4 hours of sleep per night, and that's when it happened. For 6 weeks straight, I felt like I was having a heart attack. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Tingles ran from the top of my head down to my fingertips. My chest was tight. My heart rate was elevated, and I couldn't catch my breath. One day it got so bad when I was working with a private client, I had to have my client drive me to the hospital. I need to go to the hospital right now, I told him, and he drove me. There I was, Men's Health's go-to exercise guru, and I was in the emergency room for a heart attack. Then we go into more of the details. Craig was having a severe panic attack. It left me scattered, stressed, and worst of all, on the verge of a heart attack at the ripe old age of 30. I knew something had to give. I knew I needed to make a change. And from that point on, I vowed to myself to create systems that led to not only work-life balance, but instead work-life mastery, and not just for myself, but for entrepreneurs around the world, just like you and me, so that they and you never have to end up in the emergency room like I did. See, that's how this Instagram cash machine or social story selling system was born. And we go through a bit of Craig's bio, and then tie it back into the story with the Uber ride. So notice how these both ultimately get the prospect, or in this case, Craig, with his goal, to the same result, right? Which is getting people interested in how this Instagram course was born. But notice how they take two very different approaches for the same ultimate end goal, right? So the next lead we're going to go over is the social proof lead. Now, we're actually going to go over a couple of different social proof leads. This one is more social proof based on Craig's credibility, authority, status, and expertise, okay? So it's the same headline. Dear entrepreneur, how would you like to see how to turn the Instagram account you already use into an on-demand cash machine for your business, no matter how big or small your following is? The same system I've shown to clients of mine, including Instagram superstars like Greg Kinobadio Gallagher, Joel Marion, Jason Maxwell, Jason Capel, and everyone in between. That's helped them make hundreds of thousands of dollars from their Instagram and turbocharge their businesses. Even if you'd be happy adding just a small fraction of that to your business, or if you don't feel your business is making as much as you'd like it to, then I want you to read this letter to the very end. Because in this letter, I'll show you how to make more sales, get more clients and customers, all by sending some short, simple messages on Instagram. First, let me tell you a little about myself. Then we go through Craig's bio. And then we have some of the results, right? I needed to create a tested, proven, and easily repeatable system to get more clients and customers, make more sales and money, all while working less so I could spend less time working and worrying, more time doing what I love with the people I love. And guess what? This easy, simple, proven system has not only generated over $500,000 for my coaching business in the last 12 months, but has also done the same for some of my clients who I'll introduce you to in just a bit. That's what we call an open loop, where you set the stage of a story or something you're going to tell them, but you don't give them the full answer. It motivates them and it gets them incredibly invested in reading more and more and more, or watching more and more till they get the answer, until that open loop is closed, okay? 6 figures for another. You'll love his story, so keep reading for that. It's another open loop. And thousands of dollars in extra revenue each month for hundreds and hundreds of others. Then we transition into the Uber story, okay? Are there any questions so far on story leads, emotional story leads, social proof leads before we move on?
If I could just say something real quick, Sam. A couple of people have asked for the link to the actual sales page.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I just drop it in the chat for them?
Well,
or do you want to wait on that?
Hold off a little bit, because we're going to go through the actual sales page that we ended up going with, and then after that, you can share it with people.
Okay. Yeah, we'll be sure to give everybody a bunch of resources after this call is over. That way you can go back and review some of this stuff as well, so you don't have to just look through it on this video recording. And this call is being recorded, by the way.
Yeah. So Olivia has a good question. How many or how often should you use open loops? It's a good question. There's no like hard and fast rule or answer. Use them, but like don't go overboard with them, because then it gets really annoying for people. But you can definitely put in, 1, 2, or 3 in the lead. So Balaz has a question. How do you identify which lead to use for a certain product? Does it matter? That's a great question. And fortunately or unfortunately, I say this more often than not, the only way, this is one of the most important things I learned when I leveled up my own copywriting skills and my copy business, is just test. The only way you're going to know is to test. So often what I do is I write every time I'll send a client anywhere from 3 to 5 leads. I think with Craig, we did like 7 or 8 variants, honestly. Some are very slight variants. Some are very extreme differences. And then just test them, and one against another, and that's the only way you're going to tell. So I'll give you an example of how this works even on the email side. So for my biggest client, my first project with them was an email project, right? And they wanted a lift on their one of their back-end offers for their internal audience, right? So for their email list. And we'll get to this in a second, but long story short, I'll talk about more of this later, actually. Sorry to throw an open loop at you, but I am a marketer, so I'm probably going to do it whether I need to or not. What ended up happening was I threw in an extra email that was just like the first email, but I took out the qualification, disqualification section. Just say, hey, maybe it's more stuff for them to test. It's probably going to end up like garbage because it doesn't have the disqualification, but whatever, we'll see what happens. Well, it turns out that converted at 7.8%. They couldn't get that offer to convert over like 2% or something like that. And the average conversion rate on my email creatives was 3.72%. And that one creative where I just tested taking out this one section as a variant converted more than 2 times as high as the best creative. Now, they have this client has a list of like over 1 million people. That's a huge deal, right? So always be testing.
Okay, can I throw in one thing too, Sam?
Oh yeah, go for it.
So, and this is a little bit of an open loop as well, but when it comes to putting together leads, because someone asked, like, how do you pick a lead based on a product? And while the answer definitely is it depends, I can say you always have to work with what you have when it comes to a client. Meaning, if a client doesn't have an overwhelming amount of social proof, because either this is a new offer, or maybe this is something new for their business, or maybe they're just in the early stages, then building up a social proof lead is probably going to be very difficult. Whereas on the other hand, you can bypass all of that if you have a killer story. And so that's why so often emotional story leads are a great place to start, because no matter what your business looks like right now, a great story can work.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So Rohit has a question. If most people have very short attention spans, why still use these long blocks of text versus more bullet points? And then we'll get to your next question. So the reality of the situation is you want to have a combination of these things, but you really do want to write short, punchy sentences. Notice how we don't actually really have long blocks of text here. Let's close out the chat real quick. These aren't blocks of text. Each of these is a very short sentence, right? This is the longest sentence you're going to find, right? So you don't want to write in big blocks of text, right? Now, this is a little different because this is Craig's bio, but even that, I could have broken that up even more. You want to have these short, punchy sentences, right? And you do want to have bullet points, but the whole idea is with your short, punchy sentences to draw them in enough, right? If their attention span, this is going to sound kind of crude, and I'm not trying to be callous or anything, but if even with these short, punchy sentences, or even if you have a 2-line sentence, if people are skipping it, like all of your lines and all your copy, it's because you didn't do a good enough job of drawing them in the first few sentences, right? It's super, super important. So the second part of Rohit's question was, where and how do you get these stories? Do you interview the client, go through their content, etc.? So I was in a very fortunate position here where Craig, I had actually known Craig for a while. I was a client of his for a while, had been a client of his for a while. He had been a client of mine. So I actually knew Craig's story personally. So I didn't have to really do all that much research. I dug into like an article that he had written about this story a couple of years ago to get a little bit more of like the granular detail, but like the main gist of it, I already knew personally. Interviewing the client, do whatever you have to do. I had a client that I worked on a couple of funnels with earlier this year. Had this great medical technology, and I asked him about the discovery story, and the story was just, he was like, "Oh no, nothing like that. I just like needed to make this, or like this just kind of happened." So I had 2 more calls with him, and I kept saying, "Okay, tell me what happened in the story. Tell me what happened in the story." Nothing really. This is all that happened. So on the 4th call, I said, "Look, I'm not going to ask you this question. I just want you to tell me with every single specific detail what happened in the creation of this product. How did it come about?" He gave me the best discovery story, exactly what we needed, and it's ultimately what we ran with, right? So do whatever you have to do to get the story from your client, okay? You can find some of this in research, but the details from them are what that's where the gold is. And a lot of time, and oftentimes you'll even have a conversation about something else, and then they'll just bring this up as if it's as like an aside, like it doesn't really matter. But that's where the gold nuggets really, really are, right? So always be interviewing your clients. So, yeah, you got it, man. That's what we're here for. We're here to help.
Do you mind if I add one thing, Sam?
Yeah, go for it.
I just want to touch briefly on the long blocks of text thing, just a little bit more. So, first of all, the main thing that we can say is good copy trumps everything. Right? If you're worried that people don't have enough of an attention span to read a long sales page, then you just need to get better at copywriting. And you got to really drill that into your head. Otherwise, you're going to just make the excuse for yourself that, it's just because the page is long. Nobody would read that anyways. Trust me, it's not true.
My copy coach, his short sales letters, this one was about 5,000 words. His short sales letters are between 8,000 and 9,000 words. Typically, they're between 11,000 and 12,000, and they convert like crazy on cold traffic. So
yeah, and it doesn't mean that there's no place for shorter copy.
No, because like my main client, I do 5 to 10 minute VSLs for them. I've also written 45-minute VSLs, right? I've written, landing pages that are close to 6,000 words. I've written landing pages that are about 1,800 words, right? And they all it depends on the offer, depends on, where the traffic's coming from, what kind of traffic it is, what step in the funnel is this? Is this front end? Is this back end? How many things have they seen before, right? How many offers have they seen before? There are a lot of different factors that play into it, right? But everything Tyler said is completely spot on.
And even though the copy is so important,
yeah,
the other thing that we're going to touch on in this call is page design, which does make a big difference for readability too. So even with great copy, you can enhance it dramatically by having a well laid out page that's very easy on the eyes, that makes people feel safe. And we're going to get into that stuff a little bit later on the call. So the copy is centerpiece, but there's more to it than just that.
Right. So there was just a question about hearing that the lead is more important, or the big idea is more important than the lead. The big idea is here's the thing. The big idea is absolutely critical. If you don't have a good big idea, you're screwed. You're shooting yourself in the foot, right? You're setting yourself up for failure. When I say the lead is the biggest needle mover, I'm talking about once you have the big idea nailed down, once you have your hook nailed down, once you start actually writing the copy. When it comes to getting a page to convert better, 9 times out of 10, the first place to go is the lead, right? I have an offer right now that I wrote, a promo I wrote, that it's converting slightly better than the control, but it needs to be doing at least twice as well as the control. What's the first thing I did? I started writing new leads. I just sent the client 4 new leads today. And those are going to be the first things that we test, because the big idea has already been handled, right? You can come up with a new big idea, but the goal is to do all that on the front end. You do more research and all that on the front end, and the actual copywriting process is going to be a lot easier. But when it comes to the actual copy itself, the lead is the most important thing. The lead is the thing within the copy that's going to move the needle the most, right? Like the product reveal, that's not really going to make – if you have really, really good copy up until that point, that's not going to make or break, your conversions, right? It could give you a little bit of a lift if you really screw it up the first time, but chances are that's going to be a really straightforward piece of your copy, and the lead is going to be the biggest difference maker, the biggest needle mover. So now we're going to go to –
And guys, we'll do another Q&A in 20 or 30 minutes. These are really great questions, by the way. So keep writing your questions down, and we'll get to some more after we go through the rest of the leads and maybe start getting into funnel stuff.
Got it. Yep. So here's a curiosity lead where the goal is to trigger people's curiosity. So, and this is for the same offer. I still for Craig's Instagram social story selling system. So the headline here is Entrepreneur Magazine's Instagram sales expert. Most people are using Instagram wrong. Do this instead. I did that because Entrepreneur Magazine did an article on their social media masters and business titans. And Craig was the person who they interviewed for how to use Instagram to grow your business. So this is immediate positioning, credibility, authority, expertise for Craig. And also it also makes this a lot more believable. If some random guy, this is no disrespect to people who work at McDonald's, but Joe Schmo Big Mac flipper says most people are using Instagram wrong. Do this instead. No one's going to listen to him because he has no credibility. But Entrepreneur Magazine's Instagram sales expert says most people are using Instagram wrong. Do this instead. Chances are you're going to perk up and listen, right? It's small things, but they make such a huge difference. Okay. Did you know there are really only 2 ways to make money on Instagram, and that most people aren't even sure how to do either correctly? One of the ways is difficult, something 99% of people aren't qualified to do, and some may even say is unethical. And even those few people who are qualified aren't even making money on Instagram. While the other way is something every person with an Instagram account can use, no matter if they have 300 followers or 3 million followers, even if they don't have a website or a camera or aren't a celebrity. Not only that, but the second method is simple, easy, and most importantly, it's honest. Oh, and did I mention you're also helping people when you use the second method? We go through the bio, right? And that just triggers so much curiosity, right? You're going to want to keep reading. But don't just take my word for it. Just check out these messages that the success story sent me on Instagram, right? Now we have actual screenshots. These go on for a while. This is a screenshot from Greg O'Gallagher from Kino Body, right? All these people who use Craig's course and have gotten great results. Now this speaks to an incredibly powerful and important lesson in sales. And everyone on this call is in sales, by the way, whether they know it or not, right? Doesn't matter if you're selling via sales copy, if you're selling via video, if you're selling over the phone, if you are selling face-to-face, right? Doesn't matter. When it comes to sales, every single time demonstration beats presentation. I'll say that again. Every single time demonstration beats presentation. I'll give you an example in addition to this. So last week I was watching Shark Tank. And there were two guys up in front of the sharks pitching their polo shirt business. And it was some kind of like technologically advanced material, right? That was like stain resistant, water resistant, this, that, and the other thing. Mows your lawn for you, whatever. Doesn't do that last thing, but that would be cool if it did, right? So there's the two business partners are up there. One's wearing a black polo shirt, one's wearing a white polo shirt. So instead of just explaining and presenting how it's stain resistant and all of these microfibers are woven in this crazy technologically advanced way, the guy in the black polo shirt decided to throw some stuff at his business partner in the white polo shirt. Dumped a cup of coffee on him, just rolled off. Dumped a glass of red wine on top of the coffee, rolled off. Squeezed like a third of a bottle of ketchup on there. Rubbed the ketchup in. Sprayed it with water really quickly. The entire thing was completely clean and rolled off as if nothing was ever on there. And I literally paused the TV and said to myself out loud, that reminds me, demonstration beats presentation, okay? So whenever you can demonstrate with your clients, with your copy in your videos, that will beat presentation every single time, right? Seeing is believing, okay? Now we have Craig's bio again, and then we go back to the curiosity stuff. See, so many people miss out on all the opportunities Instagram has to offer them in their business. And like I said before, there are really two ways to monetize Instagram. One is to be a professional cover model, and even I don't think I qualify for that. Plus, most of the cover models on Instagram aren't even making money off IG. Well, the other way to monetize IG is not only honest, ethical, and helps others, but people won't even know you're monetizing your Instagram. That's how cool this method is. So imagine you go through all that copy. You see all of these screenshots from guys like Greg O'Gallagher. Sean was actually in one of these before his Instagram blew up, and we're gonna look at that in a second, okay? But then all of these people who've gotten actual results from Craig's program. And if you've never heard of Craig before, you're completely cold. You're a cold traffic prospect. You think you're gonna, and you want to learn how to make money through Instagram. Think you're gonna keep reading? Chances are you are, right? Or else I haven't done my job. So the last one we're going to look at is the contrarian lead. This is the second to last one we're going to look at. Sorry, I lied. This isn't like a full-on contrarian lead in that it takes elements of the previous lead. You're going to see a lot of stuff with the bio. That the bio is going to be the same throughout the different lead variants. Some of the stuff from the curiosity lead we just went over is going to be in this one as well. But you'll see why this is a contrarian approach in a second. So the headline is the same. Entrepreneur Magazine's Instagram sales expert. Most people are using Instagram wrong. Do this instead. What if I told you everything you thought you knew about Instagram was wrong? Are you going to keep reading after that line? Probably, because it triggers your curiosity and you're like, oh, everything I did was wrong. Well, what's the right way to use Instagram? And that most influencers with 100K plus followings weren't actually making any money off their Instagram. But there is a way to successfully, honestly, ethically, and easily turn your Instagram account you already use into an on-demand cash machine for your business. You're going to be like, this guy's crazy. Even if you only have 250 followers, no website, no camera, and aren't a celebrity. Like, oh, that's nuts. There's no way that's possible. Remember back to the headline. Entrepreneur Magazine's Instagram sales expert. Most people are using Instagram wrong. Do this instead. Because you build up the authority, expertise, credibility, status with Craig, everything he says here is going to be instantly believable, right? Now, at this point, you might be thinking, that sounds great, but why should I trust anything you say? Again, this is also really important. Bringing up and overcoming the objections before the reader comes up with them themselves This is going to help you tremendously. Why should I trust anything you say? Because recently, Entrepreneur Magazine selected me as one of their business titans and social media masters for an article on how to best use Instagram to grow your business. Oh, okay. So I should believe you. I should listen to what you have to say. And then we go into the bio. But before that happens, and I'm going to tell you, I want you to be my next success story. But before that happens, I need to quickly run through why everything you think you know about Instagram is wrong. Why what I'm about to share with you is the key to monetizing IG for your business. Okay, let's set the record straight here. Most influencers with 100K plus followers or even millions of followers aren't making money with Instagram. Sure, their accounts might be full of beautiful people shots that have gone through 8.6 hours of Photoshop editing or the pretty pictures of lattes and notebooks, none of which make that person or their business any money from their Instagram. All this is true, by the way. Craig gets hit up by people with multi-million followings every single day who have like $1,000 in their bank account. They're like, I can't make rent. Help me. This is actually real. I didn't make this up, okay? Not only that, but what I'm about to share with you can not only enable you to monetize Instagram with as little as 250 followers, like my client Sean Ferris right here. This is an actual screenshot from Sean back before he started investing a lot of time in building his Instagram, okay? Again, demonstration, not presentation. But can also grow your IG stronger with exact people who are looking to buy your product or service, position you as the authority for whatever it is you do. And before you ask, again, I'm bringing up another objection to overcome it before it even comes into the prospect's mind. Yes, this works for people in every industry. My clients have used this Instagram sales system I'm about to reveal to you to add thousands of dollars to their businesses, ranging from personalized fitness coaching to jewelry to coffee subscriptions and everything in between. And if you're sensing a pattern here, yes, I'm going to utilize demonstration, not presentation. We now have screenshots of people with coffee subscription businesses, personal fitness coaching businesses, and jewelry businesses sending screenshots to Craig of how the system worked. Okay? So, any questions on the curiosity and contrarian leads? Let's see here.
Just a quick question I can answer right now. Rohit says, do you suggest writing the copy out in a document and then building the funnel around it, or build them both as you go? I would always say to write the copy first, because the page design serves to enhance the copy, and it serves to make sure that it's being presented in the right way. So if you try to basically enforce a design on the copy, then you're not going to write it nearly as naturally or as freely, because you're thinking in terms of all these blocks or a particular layout, and it's going to influence the way that you write. So copy first, then build the page design around it. And I'll talk about that.
I agree with that 100%. Any other questions on curiosity or contrarian leads before we move on? Nope.
Let's keep
Going
rolling.
once. Going twice. Got it. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you, we're going to go back to this page. This was the original control page that Craig was driving traffic to. Okay, isn't that fun? Now we're going to go through the page that I did. I didn't personally design this page. Like, I didn't actually create the graphics, but I did create the page in that it's, my copy, my headline, and I also guided the process of the different pieces of graphics that we want, where we want them, what things are going to say around the graphics. So this is the original page. And here is the page that, once it loads, that I worked on. So if you can't see this here, there's a nice little picture of Craig there. And just see how much different this is. Like, we're going to talk about page design in just a minute, but it's night and day, right? One thing I want to, getting ahead of ourselves here. One thing I want to point out here, Tyler will talk about this too, is this right here. So this is what we would call a social proof banner, right? These are all the different magazines that Craig has been featured in, right? It gives you instant credibility, social proof. Another thing you can do, if you don't have this actual social proof, but you are using a technique or a mechanism that has been featured in one of these publications, you can then leverage that social proof and say, as seen on NBC, as featured in Men's Health magazine, right? So what we ultimately went with for the lead was actually none of the leads that we went through. It was a hybrid social proof lead with the emotional story. We'll play the first couple minutes of it, and then I'll just quickly go over why we did that, and then Tyler can go through some stuff with page design before we keep going.
Hey, you'd never think a guy who was contributor to Men's Health magazine and who had six-pack abs at 8% body fat would have a heart attack in the prime of his life, let alone a 24-hour, 6-week heart attack. But that's exactly what happened to me. And it was all because I was working myself so hard. And so I set out to develop an easy-to-follow system to help me become successful and turn the Instagram account that you already use into an on-demand cash machine. I know, it sounds crazy. How do those two things go together? But I'm gonna show you today, no matter how big or small your following is, okay? It does not matter. First, let me tell you who I am and how my life-shattering breakdown turned into a life-altering breakthrough, not just for myself, but for you as well. This has helped me and thousands of my coaching clients and tens of thousands of entrepreneurs just like you turn Instagram into their biggest moneymaker, bigger than email, bigger than Facebook ads, bigger than all of that stuff. So much so that recently Entrepreneur Magazine, that's right, the Entrepreneur Magazine, selected me as one of their business titans and social media masters, and thank you for that, for an article on how to best use Instagram to grow your business. Hi, my name is Craig Ballantyne, and I was once just a farm boy and then a struggling personal trainer, and then I made a whole bunch of money on the internet, and now I'm a Wall Street Journal best-selling author. I'm an entrepreneur, owner of 5 7-figure businesses, godfather of the online fitness industry, high-performance coach to entrepreneurs from beginners to billionaires, and Instagram superstars like Greg Kino Body Gallagher. I know you've seen him. My friend Joel Marian, who went from 0 to 1 million followers in months.
All right, so you get the gist. So what we went with was a hybrid of the social proof lead with the emotional story lead, and my reasoning for choosing this lead for the first one we test is pretty simple and straightforward, right? So I could have tested a social proof lead, could have tested the emotional story lead, which is drastically different from the lead that they were currently running traffic to, but I thought, hey, we're trying to establish Craig's credibility right off the bat. And sure, we could just focus on the emotional story and use the Men's Health stuff, and we'll probably test that lead too and see what works. But this way, we kind of get the best of both worlds. We get Craig's credibility from the very beginning, but we also get the curiosity, and then we get into the emotional story as this mini VSL goes on. Okay. So yeah, we're bombarding them with social proof, exactly. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second here. And Tyler, you can pull up the page and then go through a little bit more of the page design and why from a simply a page design perspective, this page converts and will convert so much higher in the long run than the original control page.
Yep, you got it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And can everyone just let me know in the chat if you see my screen? Yep. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so Sam just did a great job of taking us through all of the copy aspects of putting together these pages. What I'm going to dive into here is how to lay out the page around that copy so that the copy can really do what it's supposed to do. So a lot of times the page design gets in our own way. We might write some great copy, but if we don't lay it out right, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. So let's look at what I consider to be the highest leverage choices that made the difference between these two pages. So the first thing is what's called above the fold. Above the fold just means what do you see when you land on the page before you scroll. So I have this on kind of a big screen right now, so you can see a lot more than you normally would. But typically above the fold would maybe be about half of this. But I just want you guys to be able to see the full context. So on this page, your above the fold view is basically this headline and the subhead with this background image. The Instagram secret to turn followers into income, which is okay. Both of these are just okay, in my opinion. But when you compare that to what we have here, we have a headline that creates a ton of curiosity, and it provides a very, very clear outcome. And then we have a very professional looking background image that shows Craig in a high authority setting. Depending on how you have this page structured, in terms of how big your screen is, like you can see more of it. So if that view just changed for you guys, now you can see Craig's face on the sides. But the most important thing here is that this is a hero shot of Craig. All these people looking up at him on stage, him ripped, him with his Instagram verified shirt on. This above the fold is so much stronger that it really gives off that Craig is an authority figure. Then you pair that with the social proof banner, which Sam talked about. And before you've even gotten into the actual lead of the copy, you're pre-framed with a ton of authority, credibility, and believability. So by the time you start reading, your mind's already opened up. Whereas over here, I'm still skeptical by the time I start reading the first words on this page. And the pre-frame makes such a big difference, because if I'm reading this with skepticism, it's going to be easier for me to read something where I'm just like, forget it, I'm gone. But when you're coming in with like, man, this guy really seems legit, you're going to have a lot more wiggle room, because people are going to give you more time, and that's more chance to suck them in. So above the fold, kind of like there's the lead for copywriting. Above the fold is the lead of page design. This is your first impression. You can't screw it up. Okay, so that's number one, the most important thing. Number two is the overall page flow. So to demonstrate this, I'm just going to kind of scroll through this page, and I'm not going to talk. I just want you guys to see how the page makes you feel. Maybe let me know in the chat. What are some words that come to mind when you look at this page? I see bored, plain. Yeah, this is one I want to call out. Someone said so much writing. Okay, it is a lot of writing. But this is really my point. It feels like it's a lot of writing because of the design. The other page is going to be just as much writing, but it's going to feel completely different. So now let's go to this page. I'm going to do the same thing. Drop some words in the chat. All right, let's see what some of the words were. Grabs my attention, interest, professional, well-designed. God damn, this is nice. Colors wake me up. Exciting, pretty, take my money, curious. Okay. Did anybody notice that that page is like twice as long as the other one? So that right there is the point about that question of, is anyone really going to scroll through this big long page? Yes, they will if it's good. Can't be demonstrated any more clearly than that. So now let's talk about why these pages made you feel so differently. So some of the words we use to describe this first page are plain, boring, a lot of white. Well, what you can see here is that there's a pattern to the page. Now, patterns can be good, but this particular pattern is bad, and I'm going to tell you what it is. The pattern is big block of text with a slightly bigger, bold headline at the top. Look at it. We have one image here. Back to the pattern. Back to the pattern. back to the pattern. This breaks it up, back to the pattern. So this pattern repeats so many times on this page that regardless of what the content says, you feel like you're reading the same thing over and over again. And what I think a lot of copywriters, they get so focused on the words that it's hard to abstract out to the design level. But you have to understand that the subconscious feelings that the page create outside of the word content are just as important as the content. Even if these words were the same words that were on the other page, you would still have that same subconscious feeling. And you wouldn't be able to put your finger on what it is. You'd just be reading this page feeling like, I kind of feel like this is boring. And that's the difference. This page has the wrong kind of pattern. Has a pattern that creates a subconscious feeling of repetitiveness and boredom, which makes people create an association that the content is not worth their time. This page takes a completely opposite approach of, I'm going to keep breaking your pattern over and over and over again. And this page is filled with something that you're probably familiar with called pattern interrupts. Pattern interrupts in a page design perspective are things that will stop your scroll as you're making your way down the page. And one thing that I want to make sure you understand as a copywriter is that even if your copy is amazing and people end up reading every word, inevitably, people are going to do this. At some point, they're going to scroll. Even if they finish reading the whole page, they'll scroll back up to the top. They'll scroll back down to the bottom. This is what people do. And I know because I watch this. I put trackers on pages and I watch what people do. And you'd be amazed how many people do this. They come to the page and they go like this. It's like, happens all the time. And maybe they go back up and then they read. But we have to write our copy and create our pages based on actual human behavior. And these are the things that humans actually do. So we need to keep it in mind. Okay, so with all that context, look at how this page continuously breaks your pattern. Super colorful heading. Hero shots. Social proof banner. Okay, here's my first content section. But I can't even fit the entire section on this page. I can already see a completely differently formatted section below it. So if I'm coming to this page and I scroll, I'm going to go, oh, wait, what was that? I want to check this section out. Then maybe I start scrolling again. Okay, some text. Oh, whoa, look at this. We got some fire emojis. Got this little hand-drawn doodle. Man, all right, keep going. Whoa, highlights. Keep going. Blue. Keep going. A check. There's just so many, a graph now. It's like, it just keeps going. All these things that you're like, wow, I haven't seen that before on this page. And that's your pattern getting broken over and over and over again. And every time that happens, subconsciously, the quality of the page seems to go up. And it seems like the page just keeps getting better and better. Then when you pair that with really good copy, then you start to get magic. Another thing that I want to bring up that this page does is it creates this flow of a left to right movement pattern. A lot of questions maybe that are popping up in your head might be something like, well, I don't really have a way to make these professionally designed graphics. You know, I can't put together something that looks like this. I don't know how to make these hand-drawn doodles and all that stuff. That's fine. Although I would say that you probably can. But even if you can't, the easiest go-to is to have a left and right alternating flow. This is a good pattern. What this does subconsciously is it creates a feeling of movement, feeling of motion. We have text on the left, an image on the right. Then we have an image on the left and text on the right. Then we're back to text on the left, image on the right. What's happening here is your brain is creating a feeling of motion because it's kind of like the page flows left to right. Imagine like if you had water dripping down where the text is, it would kind of go down and then over and then back over. And you just kind of get in this trance of back and forth, back and forth. That's how you create a feeling of motion. So in the absence of any other ideas, a good place to start is a left and right alternating pattern. Now, you don't want to do this all the time. Then it would turn into a pattern that would hurt you. Imagine if the page was just this section over and over again. And it would feel like this. But when you pair that with different background colors, with full page images, and then imagery that breaks patterns like a check, now you have something really special. So those are the biggest needle movers on the design, at least as it relates to what we're looking at here. But there's one thing that I haven't talked about that I cannot leave out, and that is, how does the page look on mobile?
This is super important because chances are, unless you're writing for a brand that caters to 55 plus, which a lot of companies in my space, in the health supplement space, do, outside of that, at least 75 to 80% of your traffic is coming through mobile. So pay attention to this because this is super, super important.
So let me just ask you a question. If you know that 80% of the people that are going to read your sales page are going to be on mobile, then which platform should you design for? Mobile. Guess what everybody does? They build the whole page on desktop, and then at the very end, they go to the mobile view, change the font size, and say that they're done. Now, how backwards does that sound? This is like Sam telling you the lead is the biggest needle mover if you're trying to improve the conversion rate on your copy. And instead of fixing the lead, you leave the lead the same and rewrite everything else. It makes no sense. But I think a lot of people just do this out of habit and familiarity. It's easier when you get into the ClickFunnels design editor or whatever page builder you're using to do desktop. Why? One, it's the default. So you come into the editor and you're already in desktop view. And two, you're on a desktop or a laptop. So you are looking at a view that matches what the editor looks like. To go into a mobile view feels a little bit weird. It's like I'm looking at my phone on my computer. But I can tell you, if you had to make one change to the way that you build your pages, if you simply just build the page in the mobile editor and change nothing else, that will help you tremendously. Because you're starting with the way that most people are going to be viewing your page. That's how you're building. So
you would be shocked. You would be shocked how high you can increase your conversion rate simply by optimizing your page for mobile, because most pages aren't. So like that alone, like remember we talked about at the very beginning, to truly be successful as a copywriter, you don't want to be a copywriter. You want to be a marketing expert who specializes in writing copy. These are the things that when you come in as a consultant, which is what you're essentially doing, even don't think of someone hiring you as a copywriter. Think of them hiring you as a marketing consultant who specializes in copy. These are all things that when you bring them to your client's attention, these are little things, small things that can absolutely transform someone's business overnight if they weren't done before.
And to hit on a point we're going to dig into more later, if you want to keep clients, the best way that you can demonstrate expertise is by showing that you know more than just copywriting. That's going to create so many more opportunities for you because you're seeding in their mind, oh, wait a second, this guy's making tweaks that go way beyond what I hired him for. Wow. Maybe there's even more to this guy than I thought. It's a great place to start your relationship. But more on that later. So on the point of mobile, you still have this above the fold consideration, still very important. And you can see here the difference in the above the fold. You can see the full headline, the subhead, you get the full picture of Craig, and the social proof, all above the fold. Whereas over here, you get a headline that looks too big. That are like the first thing I think when I look at this is, oh, they didn't optimize this for mobile. This does not look like the right size. It just looks too big. Too much wrapping. If you have 1 or 2 words per line, too big. And then we have no social proof. We don't have any interesting imagery. We're just straight into what looks like a boring letter. Okay, whereas here, we're getting social proof. We got correctly sized headlines and subheadlines, and then we have the text. But we don't have to scroll very far until we get a pattern break. Okay, now as general rules, I mentioned one already. If you're sizing a headline, you need to have, I would say, 3 to 5 words per line when you're looking at it on mobile. You don't want any of this 1 to 2 words per line thing. This immediately screams not mobile optimized, whereas this looks much nicer. And then for your main body text like this, somewhere between 16 and 20 as the font size if you're picking it in one of these editors, somewhere between 16 and 20. It's highly readable. If your market's older, more towards 20. If you're targeting younger, more towards 16.
This sounds like it doesn't matter, guys. Bigger font size is literally a needle mover for increased conversions.
It is.
Don't discount anything we're saying. Like this is all tried and true stuff. Like obviously being mobile optimized is mission critical. Having a bigger font size is actually really important. You don't want it to be size 48 and have it be ridiculous, right? But between 16 and 20, like Tyler said, the older your demographic you're marketing to, the bigger the font size, the easier the readability. It's going to boost your conversions. It's not going to hurt you. It's only going to help.
Yep. Okay, and the last thing that I'll say on mobile is if you're designing the page mobile first, like I highly recommend that you do, it's actually easier to design it. When you have desktop as your canvas, you have these decisions like, do I do 2 columns or 3 columns or 1 column? How wide do I make this thing? How wide should I make this image? You have all these questions because you have so much freedom to lay out the page. On mobile, you don't have those kinds of decisions to make. Your images are all going to be full width. There's no room for 2 columns. Your text is always just going to be 1 column. All this stuff, the decisions are made for you. So you don't even have to worry about those things. You can see to make a mobile optimized page is not a complicated thing. It's actually easier than making a well-designed desktop page because you're just alternating things like text, images, and then background sections with different colors. It's not hard. And as long as you have good defaults, like good font size choices and images and colors that break people's patterns, it's not difficult to make a well-designed mobile page. I will just say I would make this smaller right here. People think that headlines need to be huge all the time. They don't need to be huge. They just need to stand out. Okay, so just to recap, biggest things for page design, we have the above the fold. What's that first impression that you make on people? The more authority, credibility, social proof you can build into there, the better. Number 2 is what's the page flow? Do we have a repetitive, boring page that puts us to sleep and subconsciously tells us this is low quality content? Or do we have something that feels professional, polished, and high quality and breaks our patterns in the right way? And then number 3, is the page mobile optimized so that 80% of your customers are getting a good viewing experience instead of optimizing for the 20% that don't really matter as much? You do those 3 things right, good above the fold, good page flow, and be mobile optimized, then your copy is really going to shine through. You'll be in good shape. Okay. Was that valuable for you guys? I know we're all copywriters here, but this page design stuff matters. Let me know in the chat if you like the funnel page design stuff. This is big. Oh yeah, awesome. Nutty valuable. That's what I like to hear. Okay, very cool. So I'm gonna hand it back over to Sam. He's gonna get into some more copy as it relates to the rest of the funnel architecture.
Yeah. So we're gonna go through a little more copy stuff, and then we're going to, dumb smart. I like that. I like that comment as well. We're gonna go through a little more copy stuff, and then we're gonna dig into client specific stuff, right? So best ways to handle clients, payment, what you charge, pricing, all that awesome stuff. We're gonna get into that in just a bit. So, but before we get into that, I'm going to share my screen, and we're gonna go through some stuff with upsells. And what do you do once someone converts on your front end offer, right? Well, you upsell them. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of upsells. There are two that have been proven time and time again to work better than any others, and they work for pretty much any industry, any offer. Physical product, digital product, service, doesn't matter. And those two are more of the same and done-for-you accelerators. So more of the same is exactly what it sounds like. You are literally selling them more of the same. You are selling them more of what they just bought. So the highest converting upsell, data backs this up, on supplements. Doesn't matter if they buy 1, 3, or 6 bottles on the front end. The highest converting upsell is selling them more bottles of the supplement that they literally just bought bottles of. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds insane. I thought it was nuts, but before I became a marketer several years ago, I converted on these upsells of buying more bottles of something I just bought multiple bottles of, okay? So I know it works. I also have seen it for my clients and a lot of other businesses. This stuff works like gangbusters. Now, more of the same works for any kind of offer. Let's say you're selling a coaching program, right? And you're selling coaching packages. You just sell more packages, right? Like if you're selling a bundle of 5 coaching calls, sell them 3 to 5 more coaching calls. Like seriously, this stuff works really, really well. It works for any kind of offer. The next type of offer is a done-for-you accelerator. Everyone loves done-for-you. Now, the health industry is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, but the reason why the supplement industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry is because people assume that supplements are done for you, right? Instead of having to do this crazy, difficult workout program, I just take this pill and it'll get me closer to my results, right? That's what's going on in people's minds, right? They think they're done for you, right? So done for you accelerators can work in any kind of an industry. In a coaching program, so with Craig, he has his Perfect Life workshop on the front end, and then you also get 12 months of accountability coaching via email. The upsell is an accelerator package of, I think it's 4 or 5 coaching calls. So you get even more results, and you get those results in advance. And you book that first call like before your workshop even, right? Like it's just crazy. But it's accelerating results, and it's done for you. Okay, so what do we go with here? This was a done-for-you acceleration pack with all of these different components that could accelerate, that are done for you, that also accelerate customers' results from the social story selling system, the Instagram course. Now, this upsell mini VSL, I think it's about 6 minutes or so. We're not going to watch the whole thing. We'll just watch a couple minutes of it. But I want to break down the general format of a really, really high converting upsell. Okay. First thing, no matter what, you congratulate the customer or the client on their purchase. Every single time you congratulate them on their purchase, you acknowledge their purchase, you let them know they just made the best decision they've ever made, right? Let them know they're in the right place. This helps you avoid something called post-purchase dissonance, which is simply a fancy way of saying buyer's remorse. Okay, you want to avoid buyer's remorse as much as humanly possible. So you acknowledge their purchase. You congratulate them on their purchase, their investment in themselves, right? And then you let them know you're in the right place, right? So if you have like a 5 or 6 step funnel and you have a bunch of upsells and then you have cross sells, on those cross sells at the end of the funnel, you can use a regular headline. But for the first upsell, you want more of a headline that's kind of like this. You're letting them know if they click the back button, they might get multiple charges to their card. There might be an error with their order. You want to keep them on the page, right? So after you acknowledge their purchase and their investment and congratulate them on it, you let them know you're in the right place, okay? You're about to receive your order confirmation email if it's if it's a physical product that you're shipping out to them, or you're about to receive your login credentials for your digital info course like this one, in just a second. But first, I have a question to ask you. And the question is always if they want X kind of accelerated results, or what if you could have this plus this to give you this amazing result that you just bought the first product for, right? Then you reveal the product and you spend a lot of time focusing on the features and benefits, how it's going to help them out. Then you do what's called a price justification or price anchoring, meaning I could charge X amount. I could charge, $12,000 for this, but because you invested in yourself, as my way of saying thank you, I'm going to give you access to this for just a one-time payment of $97, right? And then you can also there's other ways of doing price justification, anchoring, like for the cost of, we have somebody that we work with who they have a membership site. We're like, oh, and this is, less than the cost of a Netflix subscription, right? So comparing and contrasting things like that as well. And then you present the offer one more time and remind them they're going to be getting this in addition to the offer that they just bought, whether it's, supplements, coaching package, digital info product, whatever, right? So I just want to show you what that looks like kind of in the field, so to speak. But really quickly before we do that, I want to touch on upsell for like the actual format for the page. So there's a few different things you can do. You can do a strictly VSL only upsell where you have the add to cart button pops up at a button timer. So at a certain point in the video, when the offer is revealed, the button comes up. You can have a TSL, a text-based sales letter, right? Or you can have a hybrid page that has the VSL at the top above the fold and then the text-based sales letter below. If you're going to test, I would typically test the hybrid because a lot of people like to watch video. A lot of people like to read only. That gives them both options. Okay, you can also do exit. This is a little more advanced, but you can also do exit pops out of the video if someone's about to click out of the video that then gives them the option to read. Okay, we don't need to get into that right now. For the vast majority of cases, though, the VSL only works the best. That's what we did here. Okay, so we're just going to run through a little bit of this. We'll go through the CTA buttons because what you put there is actually very, very important. We'll go through one more copy and funnel thing, and then we'll dig into all the client goodies, the golden nuggets there. Okay.
Hey, Craig here, and I would love to congratulate you on your purchase. This is absolutely amazing. Like, this is my life's work here, and I'm so glad that you made the decision to get it. It's going to change your life with the social story selling system. You're going to get so much out of this secret system. It's going to blow your mind. We get such amazing feedback from people, like in the first 10 minutes of them watching the course, all right? So you're going to get access to this and all of your bonuses right away. Now, before I give you that, I have one quick question to ask you, which is, how would you like to get the exact done-for-you scripts that me and my best clients are already using to make sales on Instagram? So if that sounds cool, then just listen to what I'm going to say here in this video, because once you leave this page, special offer's gone, okay? And this is something that I have never, ever shared before. And it's your one and only chance to get done-for-you scripts. And everybody loves done-for-you stuff because you're already busy. You got a million things on your mind, from your mortgage to your family to your business. You don't need to think about writing scripts. And so I'm going to do that for you and help you make big bucks on the IG here. So while the social story selling system gives you all the tools that you need for success, here in the special offer.
So that right there is, again, confirming they made the right decision with their purchase. So don't do it like a ridiculous amount of times, but if you can throw it in there every now and again that, oh, by the way, the purchase you just made, like, you don't say it explicitly, but by the way, that purchase you just made, brilliant idea on your part. It's just going to make them feel better. They're gonna use the product more effectively. They're also just gonna feel really, really good about the decision they made, and they're not gonna deal with buyer's remorse, chargebacks, refunds, any of that nonsense.
I've done the work for you because I love this stuff. I absolutely love it. I love sitting down and writing these. And so I put together the sales acceleration pack for people like you that don't want to wait another second to start making money. So you see, even when I tell my friends like Vince Del Monte, who's made $1 million on Instagram, and Xander Fryer, who's making $500,000, when I tell these guys how to use Instagram and they follow my exact rules, they get stuck on this one thing. What do I say? What exactly do I say? So I went back in the studio with, all right? So no matter how big or small your audience is, these 7-story templates will help you make tens of thousands of dollars every month, all right? Now, this done for you sales acceleration pack, I mean, I could easily sell this for more than what I sold the Instagram course for, all right? thousands of dollars, because it's so much money in the bank. But because you invested in yourself and your future today with the story selling system you already have, this is my thank you.
Letting them know that they're going to be getting this this isn't replacing their original order. This is in addition to their order. It doesn't seem like a big idea. Trust me, you want to lay every single thing out for people as much as possible, right? So when you really are writing, unless you have like a super sophisticated audience for a very complex offer, which is very rarely the case, you want to typically write between a 4th and 5th to like 6th, maybe at the highest and 7th grade reading level. You really want to spell things out for people, okay? So let them know that they're going to be receiving this additional offer on top of what they already just bought, because a lot of people will get confused and think that their first offer went away.
Thank you to you. And I want to give you a special one-time offer to upgrade and add the Done For You pack for just $97. This is absolutely amazing, okay? I could easily do it for $397, $597, but this is $97. Man, you want to talk about giving dimes to get back dollars? This is a game changer.
So really quickly, the CTAs on upsells, the CTA buttons, you want to make it super simple to add it to the order. And for the, you probably know this already, but I'll just point it out. For the no button, the decline button, you want to dig in. You can dig into those pain points. You want to make it ridiculous. No thanks. I don't want to have proven done for you scripts to accelerate my Instagram sales for faster results. Like, these are things you want people. The reason you make them these kind of ridiculous, pain pointy kind of language copy in your no buttons or your no links is because people are going to read this and they're going to know that they actually want those results, and they're actually going to think about it for a second, stop and be like, no, I do actually want proven done for you scripts to accelerate my Instagram sales. I do want faster results. So I'm going to click on that, right? Now, let me just see if there are any questions here about upsells before we So Sean, it is technically possible for the card to get double charged. So here's the last copy thing we're going to go over. Copy specific. Then we're going to go into the client stuff, right? So a lot of times people will decline the upsell. You're like, oh, well, what do I do then? How do I boost my average order value, right? How do I boost my cart value, my customer lifetime value, which are all numbers that your clients care a lot about. And the more you can boost those numbers, the more your clients are going to love you, the more they're going to pay you, the more they're going to work with you, okay? You do what's called a downsell. Now, downsells are simply modified, slightly lesser than versions of the upsell. So let's say you're selling a 3-bottle bundle pack of a supplement. A downsell might be 1 bottle, or it's a bottle at a discounted price, right? So what I did with Craig's upsell was I created a downsell by just looking at what was already in the upsell offer. Excuse me. So there were 4 products in Craig's upsell offer in the Done For You Sales Acceleration Pack. So what I did was I just took out the 2 best products, the 2 most compelling parts, which are the Done For You Stories templates and the Done For You sales script, and packaging those for 50% off. So I'll show you what it looks like, what you do in the upsell, okay? What's the price? Today only, save 51%. By the way, just this page is super simple, right? No need to reinvent the wheel here. How would you like to get 7 Done For You Stories templates perfect for business coaches, etc., that I just showed you for 51% off? Now, this is only if people decline the upsell, okay? The offer you just saw for my Instagram Sales Acceleration Pack was for $97, and many people picked it up for that price, but for some reason, you didn't get your copy. Maybe you didn't get these game-changing sales accelerators because of the price, but I don't think price should ever get in the way of you making more money for your business and living the life you want to live. So here's the deal. I'm offering you a modified version of my Sales Acceleration Pack, the same one you just saw go for $97 for only $47. That's a 51.6% discount. Now, I can't make you the exact same offer to those who picked up the Sales Acceleration Pack at full price. That just wouldn't be fair to those people. But you can still get the 2 most powerful parts of the upsell offer. When you add it to your order, you'll get access to the sales and income boosters ASAP. Then all you do You let them know, here's what you get, and you just break down. Like, you don't have to be super creative and come up with like the world's most highest converting, complex strategy, tactic laden copy. You don't have to worry about that. Just literally just describe what it is that they're getting. Okay. And then you show the value. That's it. I want the 7 done for you stories, templates, advanced sales script, special upgrade now. And here again, the no CTA. No thanks. I'm not ready for faster results. I understand I will never see this discount again. And I can assure you there are people who see this who are going to click no, and they read it and they're like, oh, it's only $47. I do want faster results. And they're going to go through it. Okay. So let me just look at the chat here. So Rohit, that's a great question. He said, why is this a TSL, a text-based sales letter, versus a VSL like the upsell? So there's a couple things that I can tell you about that, right? One is the downsell is like, it's really simple. It's straightforward. You're not necessarily banking on it. Like, it's there in the event that you need it, right? And you can test VSLs versus TSLs for downsells. And the only way you're really going to have, an answer one way or another definitively on what's going to work better is just by testing them against each other. But, more often than not, you don't need a VSL necessarily for the downsell. You can. But it ultimately it comes down to testing, right, and seeing which one the data, the numbers never lie, right? So the data is going to tell you which one's going to perform the best. So
I just want to ask everyone a question real quick.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So we're at almost an hour and a half, and I'm looking at the chat and I see people saying that it's 4 a.m. where they are. They're missing class for this. It's finals week. Got all this stuff going on. But I want to just ask you guys, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about for funnels because it really completes the picture. There's one big thing that we've left out so far. Now, we also want to get into deal structures and how to keep clients. So my question for everybody is, would you all be okay if this ends up going another 30 minutes or so? Keep going. Yes, let's do it. Bring it. Let's go.
School sucks.
Okay. I think we got our answer.
All right.
Okay, so Sam,
if the people have spoken.
The people have spoken, then I'm going to talk about what happens after someone buys, which I think
and just as a side note, this may not seem like a huge deal, but like the font size, the mobile optimization, right? The headline on the upsell, right? These are all things that are going to make your clients more money, which is ultimately going to make you more money, and stuff that when you share it with them, they will be blown away by your expertise, and they'll be asking you to work with them. I'm just going to make that a point because it's happened to both of us.
Yes, this is the epitome of being a marketer, not just a copywriter. I believe this is the single most underutilized component of the funnel. And I'll tell you why in just a second. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Just real quick. In the chat, let me know. Yes. Okay, awesome. So let me say this. I want you to just look at these graphs real quick. And if you are the copywriter that wrote a funnel, how would you like to see your lifetime values for these customers that you bring in do something like this? Like maybe go from $30 to $52 in 7 days. This is the difference between funnels that kind of work and funnels that scale to $1 million in 3 months, like I just did with one of my clients. And these are their graphs. You do it by taking care of your customer after they buy. So here's the mistake that everybody makes while you guys just take in these unbelievable graphs. All the effort is put into the copy and the funnel, making sure you have a great front-end sales page, You have great offers. You have a great upsell. You put your downsell in place. And you have a great funnel end to end. And then you just forget about what happens next. Or you just ignore it completely. So you send them the default order confirmation email that just says, thank you for your purchase. Here's a link to your product. And they don't hear from you again for 7 days. Sam talked about something called post-purchase dissonance or buyer's remorse. There's no better way to give someone buyer's remorse than having a horrible post-sale experience after their first purchase from you. And this is what I would say most people actually do. They give people a bad first experience. And any marketer will tell you that it's much easier to get someone to buy from you once they've already bought from you than it is to bring in new customers. Of course, we want to do both, but for every new customer that you bring in, you need to sell to them again. And the way that you're going to do that is by giving them a great first sale experience. So with that in mind, we're going to get into now what seems like the little things, but every time you think that this isn't that big of a deal, I want you to think about this graph, okay? And realize that this business with a lifetime value graph like this went from 0 to $1 million in 3 months because of this. This is the exact funnel I'm showing you right now. Many of you are probably getting ads for this funnel right now because it's everywhere. And we built the funnel. So this right here is the order confirmation page. Sean actually bought it. Well, there you go. So this right here is the order confirmation page, meaning this is the page that people go to after they've gone through your last upsell or downsell offer. And I want to take you through each of the components of this and tell you why we did it this way. It's going to seem excessively verbose, and that's for good reason. So up at the top, very first thing, important. You can access your purchases below by scrolling down this page. You will also be receiving an order confirmation email, but please allow 5 to 10 minutes for this email to arrive in your inbox. Also, please check your spam folder if you don't see the email. So with just that right there, I've told people where they're going to go to access their purchase, what's going to happen next and when with their order confirmation email, and also what to do if they don't see it. This stuff makes a huge difference because people that are confused create bad negative associations with you because they feel like they're confused because of you. You also know that confused people don't buy, and that's going to be relevant in just a second. So next thing, we thank them for ordering. And then this video basically reiterates everything on this page after congratulating them on their purchase. And then it mentions this free bonus training, which I'm going to come back to in a minute. So next, we tell them in big font how to contact support. We redundantly remind them that they can access their purchase below by clicking on the link and creating their members area account. And then we also let them know the single biggest customer service issue that anybody ever has, which is you need to use the same email address that you bought with to get your product. This is the kind of thing that sounds like a small deal, but when you're acquiring 600 customers a day, this makes a really big difference. Because for some reason, people think they can just enter a different email address and it'll be fine. I don't know why, but people do. So we let them know you must use the same email address. Now, this is just a preview of the page, so it doesn't have the product receipt, but normally it would list out the products that they purchased in the funnel. And then a gigantic button with an arrow pointing at it saying, create your account here to access all your purchases. Okay, so that's the flow of the order confirmation page. Now let's come back to the thing that's allowing this funnel to scale, which is this button right here. Remember, they just bought something. So you might think that maybe I shouldn't make them another offer. But this is the absolute
best time in the history of your relationship with this customer to make them another offer. You are 100% missing out if you do not make them an offer on their order confirmation page or order confirmation email.
And I'm just going to answer this question right now. Jordan asked, does this apply to free product offer funnels? 100%. This funnel is actually a free plus shipping physical book. There's also an audiobook version of it, but this is a tripwire funnel. So we're only selling products for $1.99 for the audiobook and $9.95 or $14.95 for the free plus shipping book. So people aren't spending a lot of money on the front end. We're having a lot of people come in, and then we're making all of the money that allows us to scale with this right here. So the free bonus training, this is what I would call a low barrier offer. People just came in buying a Tripwire product. They just spent maybe $20, $10-$20. So I could make them an offer like, here's something for $47, $97. But even that, they're going to have to think about that. Instead, I'm just going to offer them a free bonus training. This is actually a registration for a webinar. And on the webinar, we sell a $1,000 comprehensive course that builds on the content of the audiobook and the physical book. The other thing that we do, I'm going to show you an example of an order confirmation email in just a second, is in a 7-day follow-up sequence, we continue to push them to register for this webinar. So we have people that are registering right away, but also over the course of the next 7 days. And the way that we do those emails, I'll show you a couple of them. It's really important that you do it in the right way, because this is still part of that post-sale experience. If someone feels like you're just hammering them trying to get their money, that's also not good. So we have to play this balancing act of the best time to make an offer is right now, but also we don't want to ruin our relationship with them by being overly pitchy. So free bonus training, something that's going to help them out, low barrier offer, works really well. So now I'm going to show you the order confirmation email. Very simple. And what I want to call your attention to is it thanks them. Got a clear link. It tells them to use the email address that they purchased with. It tells them to save the link so that they can get back to it in the future. Lets them know how they can reach support. And then look down here in the PS. I'm sure you'll have questions about how to get started fast, so I decided to host a 90-minute presentation to help you get going quickly. Click here to register now. All he's saying is, I'm sure a lot of you have questions, so I put together a presentation to help you out. This is not a hard pitch. The next thing, I'm going to go through these a little bit quickly, but I want you guys to just get the idea. This is the next day. Email subject, want to meet? Hope you're excited to get into my book, How to Become Financially Independent on Airbnb. You may have even gotten started already with your instant access. I'm sure you'll have questions about how to get started. So I've decided to host a 90-minute presentation to share more details with you. You'll also be able to ask questions. To register, click here. We've already sold to them 3 times, right? We sold them on the order confirmation page, in the order confirmation email, and in this first follow-up email. But it doesn't feel like they've really been sold at all, does it? And the last follow-up I'm going to show you is the one the next day, because I think it incorporates some of the concepts we talked about really well. Subject line, Forbes reveals 75 new Airbnb millionaires. Baked in social proof. And if you just bought a course on how to become financially independent on Airbnb, you're opening this email. I thought you might appreciate this. Forbes magazine verified there are at least 75 new millionaires using the new Airbnb business model you read about in my book. Link to an article. Then it goes on to tell them to register for the event again. So to bring everything back together, you want to avoid buyer's remorse? There was just 75 new millionaires using the system that you just bought. You want to avoid being overly salesy and pitchy and give someone a great post-sale experience? Well, here's me being a trusted advisor for you instead of a salesman and just saying, hey, thought you might appreciate this. Here's an article for you to check out. By the way, I put together a helpful presentation for you that's free. These people don't even feel like they're getting sold at all. They feel like this guy is just here to help them out. And honestly, he is. It's a good presentation. It does teach them some things. And people are converting on the webinar like crazy. And it's because of the way this whole flow is constructed. So one last thing I want to mention before I wrap up this part is the order confirmation email is going to be your most opened email ever. It'll be the highest open rate that you ever get. We're talking open rates 90% and above. You never get that on email. And if you do it right, the emails that follow will also be abnormally high. So if you do a good job in your order confirmation email of making them feel good and get excited about the product, then most people are probably going to open this one too. And then if you don't burn them here, they're probably going to open this one. So you could reasonably get 90, 85, 80, and this is your golden opportunity. And that is how you make something like this happen. And like I said, this is the difference between this offer scaling and not. Because if you're spending, let's take a look at this purple line here. Imagine you're spending $25 to acquire a customer. So that's like right here. On day 0, you make $17.81. Man, I'm losing $8 for every customer that I get. But if 7 days later, we have 30 here on the table, but most of the growth happens in the first 7 days. If 7 days later, you're already up to $30, you're profitable within the first 7 days. That's the difference between being able to scale and thinking that your funnel is just a failure. Because it's hard on cold traffic, especially, to just get a 3x ROI on just the funnel by itself. It rarely happens. Where all the money is made is in the post-sale experience. So with all of that in mind, I just want you to come away from this realizing that as a copywriter, you're leaving huge opportunity on the table if you put all of your focus on just the copy alone. And what does that mean for you and your clients? Well, if they hired you to write the funnel and you let them know in that first call, hey, by the way, do you guys have any complimentary offers that we can put on the back end? I'd happily write you an email follow-up sequence to pitch that offer and make sure these people have an amazing onboarding experience. I'll just do it for an extra $750 on top of what you're already paying me for this funnel. First of all, these people are like, wow, this guy's thinking bigger than just where the project was to begin with. And you lay out something like this and let them know that the lifetime value is what's going to really allow this funnel to scale. Now you're a marketer. Now you're their trusted advisor. Now you're their marketing consultant. And they're going to want to hire you to do that extra thing on the back end. They're going to want to hire you to write their next funnel because you're establishing yourself as so much of an authority at the first project that you do with them. So with all that, I'm going to wrap up this section, and that's a good place to transition into the client stuff. But real quick, I saw someone just stood up and applauded. That was a little bit of a mic drop. If you have any questions about any of the stuff that I just said, drop it in real quickly. Yes, there will be a replay available. No worries. Someone dropped in a question on page design. We'll talk about that later, maybe, but I don't see anything related to what we just talked about. So Sam, let's roll into deal structures.
Deal structures. Okay. So this stuff is super, super important, guys and girls. I learned this stuff the hard way so that you don't have to deal with it. Honestly, I got burned. I learned so many valuable lessons in my first few months of my copy business. And I'm so happy that I went through those experiences because now I'm never going to get burned again. I'm never going to do the types of deals I've done before. I'm never going to do performance only deals ever again, even if it's an amazing product and everything is in writing. There's so many things that can really derail you in the beginning. We're going to go through how to avoid those so that you guys can only go upwards and never have to go on a downward trajectory, okay? So the first thing, like a lot of stuff that we have talked about already, super simple, absolutely mission critical. Have a contract. Have a contract. I will not name names, but I worked with well-known people who, if I said their names, you would know exactly who they were. One of these people never paid me. I wrote for them for 3 or 4 months. I consulted with them for 3 or 4 months. I never got paid a penny. I was promised lots of money. I made this person tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. I never received a single penny from this person. I had another person who promised me a percentage of the business I generated for close to a year. It literally got to a point where I became physically ill because of this, because I love this client. I had a very close personal relationship with this person in addition to a business relationship. And we kept having to have this conversation, and it kept getting pushed. It kept getting pushed. It was never the right time, never the right time. And it literally, and I'm a health nerd. I'm a biohacker, right? I'm so anal in particular about taking care of my health. And I literally got physically ill. I actually had the breakthrough. I actually had a conversation with Tyler about this back when this happened. All because, now this is a great person. I'm still friends with this person, but I didn't have anything in writing. So they could promise this till they're blue in the face. It would not hold up in court, right? Always, always, always have a contract. There are tons of boilerplate service agreements and contracts that you can find online. Maybe I can get one of mine to Sean, and he can send it out to you. The next thing within having a contract, I learned this lesson the hard way as well from that first client. Never, ever deliver your copy until you've been paid for it. Now, there are a couple of different ways that you can do this. One, I've done multiple things. So I'm actually working with a client right now who said, oh, can we pay you half up front and half upon delivery of the copy? I said, sure, yeah, that's great. So I give them my information. They paid me the first half, and when I'm done, they pay me the second half. I didn't start doing that until recently, and that's only when clients propose it. So the way I do my business personally, and I'm not saying you need to do it this way, you need to find what works for you. The way I personally handle my business, with the exception of if the client says, oh, we'll pay you half up front, half at the end, is I let them know up front. I said, look, I actually put this in my contract that I send them, and I let them know. I say, hey, look, I'm going to deliver the highest level of service I possibly can for you, write the best copy, provide the best consulting, deliver results as quickly as I possibly can. And I'm going to send you an invoice. And I don't use this phrasing, but this is the idea of it. Once I send that invoice, I expect to be paid, and I will not send the copy a second before that invoice has been paid. Now, if I see the money's on its way or it's hit my account, I instantly send them the copy, but not a second before, because I've sent copy to people before and not gotten paid for it. Okay. Now I said it depends on the client. I also have clients some clients pay 100% upfront before you've even started the copy. One thing you will find is the more established businesses you work with, the easier these money issues are going to be to deal with and handle, and most of the issues won't even exist because they just know good business, right? There are a lot of influencer-based businesses that actually aren't doing as much as you think they would, and they don't have as much experience working with contractors, consultants, like these bigger businesses do, so they don't really know how to handle it, or they think they can just do whatever they want. With these bigger businesses, well-established, that work with people like us day in and day out, they just do things the right way. Like it's been so refreshing for me in the last 6 months as I've worked with higher and higher and higher and higher level clients, that the money stuff, it's simply a formality. I don't have to worry about it. I have a project I'm working on right now. They said, as soon as the project gets greenlit, just send them an invoice. They'll pay you in full. Because they also know that I'm not going to just run away with their money. I'm going to deliver the highest level of service I possibly can as soon as I possibly can. Okay. So the next thing that you want to consider with what you charge, what your prices are, is batching and bundling. Okay. By that, I mean, how can you position your offer so that it not only is more valuable, which is the most important thing, so that it is more valuable for the client, but it also appears more valuable. If you say, oh, I'm a copywriter, right? And you're like, I'll write you a sales page. Versus, oh, I'm what I call myself, I don't call myself a copywriter anymore. I used to, but as of the last couple of months, I no longer say that I'm a copywriter. I say I'm a copy and conversion specialist who specializes in copywriting. Okay, so you might have a package that's for an entire funnel, right? So you'll write an entire funnel for someone. Tyler and I work with people who they write funnels, and they also actually build out the funnel itself in ClickFunnels or Lead Pages. They actually build the pages. They design the pages too. There are different types of bundles and packages within in addition to full funnels. Like a lot of times people are writing emails. They can be repurposed as social media captions and posts. So you can do social media and email bundles, right? Tyler, feel free to jump in if there's anything else I'm missing here. But within the bundles and packages, there are so many different things you can do. And obviously, the more you provide in a package, so let's say you're doing like a VSL or a sales letter, one or two upsells. You also do the follow-up sequence. You also write a launch campaign to promote it to their internal list. And you do those things at a discount, but it's not really a discount. Here's what I mean. So let's say you charge $150 per email, hypothetically, right? And the package is for 100. You have like other copy involved, but you also do emails at $150 per email. You let them know, hey, normally these are this. You don't have to do this, but you could say, normally these are $250 per email. But if there's a package or like a volume, then I'll actually discount it. And you can actually do real discounts. Like I do that too. So like I personally charge $400 per email if I'm doing just like emails for someone. But if it's like X amount of emails and above, like for instance, I had a project for a client a couple of months ago where I had to write a 60-day follow-up sequence for them. I'll discount it to $250. So it's like a 40% discount because there's more volume, right? It also builds more trust because you are genuinely giving them a deal, and it enables them to in theory, get more work product from you for technically less money. Anything else in there, Tyler, before we keep going through the client stuff?
Yeah, I want to highlight some of the really important framing and positioning concepts behind this, because I feel like they help people understand why this actually makes sense. So especially if you're in the earlier stages and you're not working with these big time businesses yet that Sam's talking about, where the money conversations are just kind of like a formality, the batching and bundling is going to do a lot more than just give you price options. Let's say, for example, that you write emails. And what you do is you have a 5 email bundle for, let's say, $1,000, just to make the numbers easy. A lot of clients will come to you and they'll think what they want is one-off work. People that don't want to make long-term commitments love to use this phrase. I just want one-offs. Okay, sure you do. What you really want is as much work as you can get without having to make a long-term commitment. So fine, we know that's what people are going to be thinking, so let's work with their mindset. They're not ready to commit to a monthly retainer or anything like that. Okay, fine. They say they want one-offs, but because you're the expert, that if I just write one email for you, that's not going to do anything for your business. There's an exception if you're writing cold traffic, beat the control emails, but we're not talking about that right now. Let's just say they have broadcast to their list, they do standard email marketing. Because you're the expert, that it makes way more sense to give them a bundle, like say 5 emails, because there's a specific purpose for a bundle like that. It could be a launch sequence. It could be an automated follow-up sequence after someone opts in. It could be the nurturing sequence after someone goes through the funnel to sell them on your high-ticket program. They might not be thinking all these things. They think they want one-offs. So you're here to educate them, to let them know, hey, there's a reason why I sell a 5 email bundle. You don't just say, you can get 5 emails for $1,000. You say, there's a reason why I offer a 5 email bundle. It's because we can use it for this, this, and this, which will make it more valuable to your business than me just writing 1 or 2 emails for you. And also, by you getting a bundle of 5 emails, I normally charge $250 an email. This is only going to be $200 per email. So you're actually saving money. It creates this wins all around situation. Makes you look like an expert. It allows you to get a bundle of work all at once so that you're not doing inefficient, right? 1 email here, 1 email there. You don't want to be in that kind of working relationship anyways. and it forces them to commit to doing a bigger chunk of work with you, which is going to build that relationship even more, all while saving them money and allowing you to do work in a more efficient way. So when it comes to the bundling, you want to think about, given real world use cases, what are bundles that make sense? For email, 5 makes a lot of sense. If you're doing social media posts, 5 to 7, right? Maybe a post per weekday, or it could be a post every day, or it could even be 3 posts a week, but then we'll give you posts for 2 weeks, right? Think about bundles that make sense and create basically a bundle catalog. And when you're on these calls trying to position your offer for somebody, lay out for them what the bundles are based on what their needs are. And if you want, you can just adapt it on the fly. They say that they broadcast 5 times a week. Okay, then give them a 5 email bundle, even if they say they want one-offs. So all this has to be context aware and context dependent.
Because one-offs, just for the record, doesn't mean one and done. It means on a per project basis. Right. I can tell you for a fact that my biggest client, who I've generated the most money with and from in the last 3 or 4 months, has been project after project after project after project after project after project with this one client. Because they don't do retainers, but it doesn't matter because I'm working with them month after month after month after month because I keep delivering, which then kind of transitions into what we're going to talk about in just a second, which is over-delivering and always over-delivering, and there's certain ways to go about that. Before we get into that, though, there's one point I want to make really quickly. People ask me all the time, Sam, I don't know what I should charge. What should I charge for my copy? What should I charge for my services? The answer, whether you want to hear it or not, is there is no cut and dry answer, and it is case-by-case basis, situation dependent every single time. The only way to truly figure out your pricing is to have someone who's ahead of you look at your copy and help you make that determination. The reason I say this is very, very clear, and it's something I've experienced firsthand. There are copywriters who have been writing copy professionally full-time for 5 years, okay, who do not have the experience or do not write nearly the level of copy or have nearly the level of wins and successes as some copywriters who've been writing professionally for 1.5 years. It's just a fact, right? So you would say in theory, oh, well, I've been writing for 5 years, so I should charge more than this person who's been writing for 1.5 years. But if that person who's been writing for 5 years does some, blog posts and some SEO stuff that doesn't really get seen, the person who's been writing for 1.5 years has written 10 cold traffic winners for 8 and 9-figure businesses. Which person's going to be able to charge more? The person who's been writing for 1.5 years because they have that track record, that success. So to determine your prices, you really need to get outside eyes to figure out what should you be charging, because there's different levels and layers to this stuff that really can kind of vary from person to person, copywriter to copywriter, even project to project, right? So like, for instance, you may be an expert email copywriter, but you've never written a long-form sales page. What you're going to charge for a long-form sales page is going to be very different than someone who's been writing long-form sales pages successfully for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, right? So any questions on that before we get on how to actually deliver the best results for your clients?
So deal structures, pricing,
yeah.
Anything there?
Not looking like it. Going once, going twice. Okay. So I mentioned a minute or two ago about delivering for your clients. You always want to make an incredible first impression, and the way you do this is by under-promising and over-delivering. This not only helps you, this helps. So Edwin says, if you don't have outside eyes, how do you determine? Here's what your thoughts are on this, Tyler. I mean, you kind of have to go by what I would do is I'd reach out to people in your network who are at the same level of experience as you, see what they're charging, see what they're having success with, right? Because I made a mistake when I was first starting out of overcharging because I had access to some higher level clients. And if I were to charge those rates right now, I wouldn't miss a wink of sleep because those are what I'm worth, if not more, right? But you have to compare yourself with people who are at your level and level of experience and see what is working for them. Not what they charge, what are they charging successfully? Because there's a difference. Tyler, anything you want to add in there before we move forward?
Yeah. You can often get at least, I would say, measuring stick sort of comparisons just by closely following people who are above you. A lot of times, like for example, Sam and I are both mentored by Justin Goff, as Sean mentioned, one of the best copywriters in the world. We're on his email list, and he tells us how much he charges. It just drops it in an email at one point in time. So you hear that, and you're like, oh, okay. I know that Justin Goff charges whatever he charges. So now you have a point of comparison. You say, okay, I'm charging $150. He's charging $500. Okay, well, how far above me is someone like Justin Goff? And you just kind of create that relative approximation of where you think you should be. So that is to say, yes, definitely try to find other people who are at similar levels to you and make comparisons there. But also follow the people that you want to be like, get on their email list, listen to their stories, and you might hear them drop how much they charge. And then that'll give you things that you can compare yourself against.
Yeah, so I just want to point out really quickly what Jaden said, that he heard one time cost of having the problem, pricing equals the cost of having a problem plus value of solving a problem. I agree with Sean's point, that divided by 10. Because reason being, I had a conversation once with a potential client. I wrote them samples. They loved them. They were an 8-figure business. They were spending between $600,000 to $800,000 a month on Facebook ads. Their email program was not good, not nearly where it could be. And I knew for a fact I was the best person on the planet to deliver for them. And so they loved all the work I did for the samples I gave them. They wanted to get me on the phone immediately. They had a problem that I could easily solve for them that would make them ridiculous amounts of money. Now, I came up with the rate that I was quoting other people that was very reasonable. And now, granted, I didn't have the full track record that I have now, but I was still on the phone with them because they wanted me to be their email copywriter. They shot me down so fast. They could have easily afforded it they could have afforded it like that. And they were like, oh, it's way too expensive. I went through objection handling, way too expensive. Ultimately, it wasn't a fit. And, it was a good thing I didn't end up working with this business. But the cost of having a problem and the value of solving a problem is not always going to get you your pricing. Like Sean said, divide that by 10. Be very, very cautious with that. Because I can tell you for a fact that's not always how it works out.
Last thing I'll add on this point before we move on to keeping clients is, in the absence of everything else, compare yourself to yourself. Now, what I mean by that is if you're not getting on calls, trying prices, and then getting feedback from the marketplace, then you don't even know what price you command. So what you have to always be doing is pushing your own envelope. If you're charging $100 per email right now, when you get on your next call for an email client, offer $150. If they take it, then great, because what's going to happen is every time you successfully charge a higher rate, that now creates a foundation that you can build upon to command the next higher rate. Because now you can say, well, this is what I have charged all of my other clients. So you come in with the confidence knowing other people already pay me this, so it's not even a big deal. And then pretty soon you're going to be like Sam, where your prices just keep going up and up and up because you get the results with the client that paid you $100. Then you charge the next one $150, get the results with him. Now you're at $200, and you just keep working your way up. So in the absence of everything else, compare yourself to yourself and always be price testing.
Yep.
And the last thing I want to say before we go on to this last section, which is a big general point, I feel like, just to overarch this whole call. one of the main reasons why Sam and I are even doing this call right now is because we so strongly want to help people not go through all the same struggles that we did, that this is the kind of stuff that really lights us up. We have struggled with all of this stuff. So if you are thinking, man, I'm having such a hard time getting someone to pay me, we did for like years. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. And it's one of the reasons why it's so important to, one, be persistent, but also to have mentors that are guiding you and pulling you up. Because a lot of times when you get shot down a few times at 150 per email, you're thinking, screw it, I can't charge 150. And then you just end up charging 100 for months after months after months. But when someone above you says, you can't charge 100 anymore, only 150, you're worth it. They will pull you up. So that's why Sam and I are both being mentored by two of the best copy and funnel experts in the world. It's why I'm in multiple masterminds. It's why Sam has multiple coaches. I know Sean always talks about the mentors that he has. This stuff really makes a big difference because you need someone to help pull you up.
Absolutely.
That's why Sam and I are where we are today. Hard work and people to pull us up.
Oh yeah, without question. People are like, oh, what's your secret? My secret is I invest in myself, in coaches and mentors that I know are going to help me. But anyway, Clint, you asked a great question, my man. I hope you're doing well.
Perfect transition too.
We're just about to get into that. So Clint asked, how do you go about under promising, over delivering correctly? So I went through this actually this morning. What I do, so I'll just give you some context. I write copy really fast. It's just how I'm wired. It's just what I do. I've been writing in some way, shape, or form my whole life. I write copy and can turn it around really, really fast. However, I want to make sure that expectations are managed because things can always come up. So for instance, I had a client, I had a client who I spoke with over the weekend. Excuse me. And they said, okay, well, how long do you think it'll take to write this follow-up? The assignment was a post opt-in sequence to beat his control sequence, right? And I said, well, I'm going to be perfectly honest and transparent with you because that's what I do with all my clients and when I work with. I write really fast. I get stuff done really quickly. That said, I'm going to be very conservative with my timeline. I said, I'm not going to tell you it'll be done in 4 days because then if I give it to you in 5 days, I've now broken my promise and my word to you. So I would much rather say it'll be done in 10 to 14 days, so a week and a half to 2 weeks, and have it be done in 3 days, than have you then tell you, oh, it'll be done in 3 days, and if it's in 4 days, I've messed up, right? So you can say, oh, it'll be ready in 3 days, but if you get it in 4 days, which is still really fast, you've already broken your promise and broken your word. Whereas if you say 10 to 14 days and it's done in 4 days, you have under promised and over delivered exceptionally. And in my case, I gave this client 10 to 14 days for this sequence. I wrote it in an hour and a half this morning. So it's done. But this now actually leads directly into the next point I want to make. Giving yourself extra time also allows for editing margins, which is, again, it doesn't sound sexy, but it is a huge deal. So what did I do? I wrote this sequence in an hour and a half, and the old me would have sent it over to the client right away, or sent them an email saying, hey, it's done. I'll send you an invoice for the rest of the payment, and as soon as it's done, I'll send you the copy. It's like, well, hey, I said 10 to 14 days, and I did it in less than 2 hours. What do? Well, I sent it to my copy coaches, Justin and Stefan. They're going to review it on our coaching call tomorrow. So now, whether the copy is all good or if there's changes I need to make, I can now go through those changes, make those edits, and still deliver it at least a week earlier to my client than what I had promised, right? So another way that this works is certain clients are going to be blown away by your copy, and they're going to say, this is like the greatest thing I've ever read. This is unbelievable. I can't believe you did this in this short amount of time. Had this happen to me. I've also had clients who are brilliant copywriters in their own right say, yeah, this isn't exactly what I'm looking for. Like, let's try this angle, or let's use this hook, or what if we look at this and this in the lead, right? So when you have those situations, which happen more often than not, whether your client's a copywriter or not, let's say you give them 14 days for it to be done, but you submit the first draft in 4 days. That then gives you 10 days to make edits, right? Either look it over yourself, have your other people in your copy network look it over, make those changes, make those edits, do those rewrites, and still be over delivering and under promising. Because if you say it's going to be ready in 14 days and you get it to them in 12 days, to you, if you're like me, you might think you've messed up because you've wasted all this time. The reality is you still delivered it early. You still delivered it ahead of schedule, right? But if you give yourself that buffer window, that time to make those margins to actually do the edits, the rewrites based on your client's feedback, you're going to be able to deliver a higher quality product for your client, make your client happier, and position yourself even better because you are very clearly demonstrating that you are a professional. You take this seriously, you work fast, you understand how the process works, and you still over-deliver and under-promise. Anything else there, Tyler?
The most important thing to me here is when this is especially your first client interaction, meaning this is your first time delivering work for this particular client, this whole project is your first impression. So when our end goal is to keep clients and to deliver great results for them and to give them an incredible experience working with you, so they work with you again and again and refer you to other people, so it's kind of like these concepts have a lot of similarities. The post-sale experience, when right after someone buys the product in your funnel, and the experience that a client has right after they pay you for your copy, same idea. If they have an incredible experience working with you and they say, wow, this person delivered early, they consulted with me ahead of the deadline, still made all of my edits, and got it done 3 days before when they promised, they're going to think, I want to work with this person again, because that's the type of people that we all want to work with, right? So this all, to me, is really just how we make an incredible first impression. And when we do that, the client's going to keep coming back again and again, just like what's happened with Sam.
And part of that is also always add and provide more value than you think you have to. So I'll explain what I mean by that. So with my main client now, my biggest client, the initial assignment was one email creative. So one email creative to be the control for this internal offer for their email list, right? So they're going to pay me for one email. Did I write them one email? Hell no. I sent them 4 for the price of 1. This helped me. This helps them. This helps the business. This helps our relationship. It helps their customer. It helps everybody. Here's why. 1, so this is a huge company. They test, in their words, they test violently. They are always testing. So I knew the more stuff they have to test, I know they're going to test every single thing I give them. The more stuff they have to test, the more data we're going to have. The more data we have, the more information we have on what works and what doesn't work for this offer, for this audience. So I'm looking out for them by giving them more data. It also helps me because I know the more shots I have on goal, the higher likelihood I have of scoring, of winning, right? If they said, oh, we're going to pay you for one email, let's start with one email, and I wrote them one email, I have a 50% chance, right? If I send them 4 emails, Tyler's the data scientist here, but my chances of success, they increase significantly, right? And then within that, always adding more value, I wrote 3 distinct emails for them. So I said, oh, I'm going to send them these 3 emails. Oh, you know what? Why don't I just take out this disqualification section of this first email and just throw it in there? That way they have a 4th thing to test. Well, that thing that I just threw in there happened to be the one that converted at 7.8%. They never got that offer to convert that high on their email list before. Okay? And because of that, and the professionalism I displayed, with over-delivering and under-promising, I have been working with them every month since that email on bigger and bigger projects that have more and more ramifications for their business.
Now let's make one very clear distinction. There's a difference between over-delivering on the value and basically exploiting yourself for free labor.
There's a big difference.
We don't want you to exploit yourself. A lot of copywriters get stuck in this trap because they have the right intentions. Goods in advance, for example, right? This is a great case of doing work for free with the hopes of establishing a great relationship for which you get paid later. But you can take that too far. And the same thing is true of if you're trying to over-deliver. It needs to make sense in some way. Like in Sam's case, he's writing cold traffic beat the control emails. So for Sam to deliver more email creatives so he has more chances to beat the control is actually just in his best interest, let alone the business's. So it makes sense for him to put that effort in. Now, if you're delivering a sales page, and Sam did this, but we didn't call it out explicitly, writing multiple versions of the lead is a great way to create a scoped amount of work that you can over-deliver on without creating an incredible amount of work for yourself by writing 4 different versions of the entire sales page, right? You want to pick out what's the thing that makes sense for the project, the highest leverage thing, and then double down on that so that way you can give yourself more chances to deliver results. And this is the last thing that I want to touch on, which is being obsessed with the results. That means coming in from the perspective of, I will do whatever it takes work-wise to ensure that the client gets results. If that means I need to write them 4 versions of the email to ensure that at least one of them is going to beat their control, then I'm going to do that. If I need to write 5 versions of the lead, then I'm going to do that. You have to figure out for each of your projects, what's the thing that's going to ensure that you get the results, or at least give you the best chance. And then that's where you're going to provide more value on the thing that's going to get the results. So if you're going to write, let's say, a launch sequence for someone, and the agreed upon launch sequence length is 7 emails, you're not going to provide more value by saying, hey, actually, the sequence is 14 emails long. You might think like, I went above and beyond 14 emails. But no, because that doesn't make any sense. What would make a lot of sense.
But what does make sense,
Sam, what does
make sense, and this is something that I do, is, Blair, you just hit it out of the freaking park. I try to provide anywhere from 4 to 12 subject lines per email that I write. Because with emails, like, sure, you can write all different kinds of emails, but let's say you have one email creative, right? Changing the first sentence of the email may or may not move the needle. It's not, it might change some things. But with all else being equal, what's going to make a difference on an email creative? The subject line, because that's going to affect the open rate, which is why with every email that I write for people, I try to provide anywhere from, like I said, 3 or 4 to 12 subject lines per email. They can test all of those.
There you go.
As opposed to writing twice as many emails for something that's just going to end up being more work for the client. Right.
That's right. If you pick the wrong thing to go above and beyond on, it can actually be worse.
Mm-hmm.
Pick the right thing, can multiply your value, make you look like a genius, and they'll be thanking you so much. I can't believe you did this. Yeah. So this is a reusable and generalizable concept. So I need to make sure you understand the theory. And that's the theory. You have to pick the right thing. Just doing more work is not the answer. It's pick the needle mover thing and double down on that. That's how you really over-deliver.
So Olivia has a question. Can you elaborate more about monthly retainers, how to navigate that conversation? What would you offer Stack in order to make monthly retaining the best option for the clients? So I'm sure Tyler will have separate thoughts than I do on this. There's a couple different things to bear in mind. One is, what is your offer and your skill set? So I'll give you a perfect example of how I actually got into a full-on copy retainer client situation. It lasted about a year. So when I started my marketing business, I focused exclusively on email copy. People asked me if I did sales copy. I would say, nope. I say, I've written sales copy before. I don't write sales copy now. I focus on email exclusively. I then had an email client who I was over-delivering for. They asked me, and I was a great team member. I wrote great copy. I turned it around super quickly. I was collaborative, whatever. And they said, well, we want you to write our sales copy and our ad copy. I said, I don't do that. I only do email copy. And they kept asking me, and they kept asking me. And then it actually got to a point where they let go their head copywriter because they wanted to work with me. And I ended up doing some landing pages for them 1 month. And the next month I did a couple more landing pages. And then I was just like the copy marketing guy for the company. I said, okay, we need to figure this out. And I came up with a retainer package based on the average amount of emails and landing pages per month, right? So if you're strictly an email copywriter, don't go for an email retainer, but don't go for an all-around in-house copywriter retainer, right? If you do write both email and sales copy, then great. It also depends on what you offer stack depends on what you're willing to take on, how much work volume you're willing to take on, right? I've seen people just completely shoot themselves in the foot by doing what we don't want to do. And they overpromise. They take on too much, right? And then you try to do that with too many clients. You're balancing all these different plates. You're juggling all these different things at once. And then what's going to happen? One or more of those plates is going to come crashing down to the ground and it's going to shatter, right? So bear in mind your work capacity and the volume of work you feel comfortable taking on before you determine what you put within that retainer.
Here's a contrarian position. I think retainers are overrated. My challenge is that the reason why most people focus so much on retainers is because they lack confidence in their ability to deliver. If you're really good, what do you need a retainer for? They'll have no other choice but to come back to you.
So I'm actually a perfect. Yeah. Go ahead. Then I'll show my example.
Come on, Sam. I'm rolling here. If you're really good, they'll come back to you. And the thing that really matters the most is deliver, deliver, deliver. Be good at what you do. And then what you're going to end up doing is creating more opportunity for yourself. Because the reason why I think retainers are overrated is that they often sign you up for way more work than actually makes sense. Now, there's a right way to do retainers, and it's to have a ironclad contract that's super specific and creates hard scopes on your responsibilities. But what always happens, because this is like a psychology thing with people that pay a retainer, they think they just own you now. They're like, oh, well, you're my copywriter. Got you on retainer. Hey, I got this ad. Can you write that too? Hey, how about you start doing social media posts? And you're like, well, wait a second. No, none of this stuff is what we talked about. But it puts you in a position where you have to start telling them no. Whereas if you just charge them a package for a certain batch of work, and then they want more work, obviously you're going to charge them more for that. But if it's a retainer, it's like, what do you do? So the only way to do a retainer right is to make it so clearly defined and scoped that it's understood before it starts that if you want any additional work outside of this scope, the price of the retainer will go up to reflect the additional work. Otherwise, and Sam will tell you he's living proof of this, just be really, really good, and then you'll end up making way more money, you'll take on way more projects, and you'll do way less work. That's why retainers are overrated.
Yeah. So I became a full-time freelancer. I only had retainer clients when I started with. I had one client who would like send me a project like every month or so, but outside of that, I had a couple or a handful of retainer clients, and that was it. Since June, I have strictly been a freelancer. Since June, my income has increased exponentially month over month. So my very first month as a freelancer, I made 20% more than I did with my retainer client. The next month, I made like 96% more and had a record month. The month after, I doubled that previous month's record. And this month, I'm at the same level of doubling my previous record, right? And I'll be getting three or four projects this week alone, right? All of that is because I focus on my skills. I got the right eyes on my stuff, so I'm able to over deliver and under promise. And I'm not tied down to one particular client. Now, I have one client who I do work with every single month on a variety of projects, but those are paid on a per project basis, which pays significantly more than were I on a retainer. Like one project that will take me maybe 3 days, in some cases, will pay as much as the entire retainer did. So I would used to think like a lot of people, I said, oh, I got to have retainer. If I don't have retainer, I don't have security. Well, actually, it's the other way around. If you build up your skill set enough and you're just delivering, you're actually going to make way more and have way more security as a freelancer in that situation. Now, some people are different. Some people really do just want to be on retainer. They don't want to scale up their business. That's fine, right? But if you really want to make as much as you can, being on retainer is not how you do it.
I would say the biggest exception to everything that we're saying is one, like Sam said, if you're only looking for like, I just want a couple of clients, just want to make like $5,000-$6,000 a month and know exactly what my work is every month. Because I don't like the whole client acquisition thing. I don't want to do that. But if that's you, you're probably not going through Sean's programs. But that being said, if you really just want that, and I think the best thing to do this with is with email, because you can just talk to a client and say, we're going to do 5 emails a week, $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month, done deal. It's simple. If you want any more emails than that, like for a special launch or a sequence or something like that, we'll do that on a per email basis. Easy, done. Make it scoped, have the contract, all that. But outside of that, man, I mean, once you start to be a copywriter retainer, they're just going to throw anything that has writing in it at you. Sam's been in this position before. It's like, wait, I thought I'm doing emails. Now all of a sudden I'm writing Facebook ads and Instagram posts. And now you want me to do sales pages too? I thought I was just doing email. And when you do that, you end up stressed out. You feel like you're constantly letting the client down because you're saying no, 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 no. And that retainer won't last very long. And then what was the point of the retainer if they only paid you for 2 months anyways?
Yep.
Didn't really do you any good. So I saw one more question in the chat that I responded in the chat, but I wanted to go back to it. Will asked, on contracts, how would you terminate a contract with a client once you're finished working with them? This is a pretty simple one. Your contract should be scoped so that it naturally terminates after you've delivered what's agreed to. In other words, the contract isn't indefinite and without boundary. The contract says, this is what I am agreeing to. This is how much I will be paid for exactly this work. Upon completion of this work, this contract has been fulfilled. So your contract is naturally terminated. Now, if you have a retainer contract, then same idea, super scoped, clear responsibilities, and then you have a clause in there that says this retainer can be canceled at any time by either me or the client. So either of you can cancel if that's what you feel should be done. And if you're good, maybe you'll be too good for the client and you'll end up canceling on them. But
that happens.
You should have enough.
I've done it multiple times.
Yeah. You should have enough confidence in your work to to allow people to cancel. So keep them scoped. Okay, so that was the last section that we had to cover. So before we just wrap up with a couple other things, is there any other are there any other questions that people have? We've talked about lead types, talked about upsells, downsells, page design, the post-sale experience, deal structures, keeping clients. And if you don't have a question, maybe just drop in the chat something that you found really valuable on this call so far. This has been awesome, guys, and you've been really amazing. So many people showing some massive dedication here. We're at 2.5 hours. My goodness. Okay.
I'd love to hear from everyone here. If you don't have any questions, like Tyler said, just let us know in the comments.
We got a question.
What's been most valuable for you guys?
Left, right flow. Yep.
Yeah. Compare yourself to yourself. Page design, contract rules, Sam's hidden tattoo. So I'll answer this quickly. Al asked, and I think this is his third time asking the question, you guys design the pages yourselves? I'm a funnel guy, so oftentimes I am the one doing the page design. But the answer to this really doesn't matter. You just decide. Like, are you a copywriter or are you actually like a funnel builder? If you're just a copywriter, then be unapologetic about the fact that you write the copy. You'll give them basic layout, such as we're going to have the headline, the subheadline, then I want this video here, and then I want a social proof banner, and then I want my lead, then I want this image. So you have like the overall layout of the page. But if you don't want to be designing graphics and all that stuff, then don't. There's no right or wrong answer there. Let's see, page format and retainers was good info. Left, right flow, retainer perspective. Oh, here's one, Sam, you can probably take this. As someone trying to focus fully on freelancing, what's the best platform to focus on?
If by best platform, you mean like social media platform, it depends where your customers are, right? So, and what you're trying to do. For some of the companies that I work with now, these really big companies, they're more active on Facebook. They're not very Instagrammy, right? Because these aren't like necessarily influencer businesses. But if you're, focusing on writing for fitness influencers, for example, that's your specialty, chances are best place to find them is on Instagram. So it really depends on where your customers are, right? Maybe it's LinkedIn. Maybe your customers are on LinkedIn, depending on what type of copy you're writing, what niche you're focused on. They're not on YouTube. Don't use YouTube. But Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, depending on who you're going to be writing for.
All right, continuing through the chat here. Olivia says, I've been on upwards of 100 calls in the last 5 months, and this is definitely one of, if not the most valuable call I've been on. So many nuggets. That's awesome. That makes me really happy to hear. Paul says, what's the tool you use to track customer LTV? Well, Paul, I developed that tool myself. As Sean said, I am officially a rocket scientist, software developer, and it's something custom that I built. And it's in a limited beta right now, but watch out. It's going to take over the marketplace very soon. Thanks for asking. Oh, I see Sean mentioned it. Jordan just says, wow. Nice. All right, awesome. Well, I think we're good to wrap up. So, Sean, you are the master at helping freelance copywriters get their first high-paying clients so they can grow their businesses. Is that right?
So I've heard. Yeah.
So we were talking before this call how we could add even more value to his group. And Sean said a question he gets all the time is he's completed the CMB program, or so people ask, I've completed the CMB program. I got my first few high-paying clients. What's next? So Sean actually requested that Sam and I open up our exclusive coaching program to his students and just his students. So once you get your copywriting business off the ground, the next step is delivering incredible results to those clients so you can keep them, command even higher prices, and establish yourself as an authority while continuously improving your copywriting skills, right? Once you start getting those clients, that doesn't mean that copywriting skills stop developing. The more you can develop those, the more you're going to be able to charge, the better results that you're going to get for your clients. So really, once you get those first few clients, it's just the beginning of a new journey. So Sam and I have a first of its kind 2-on-1 personalized coaching program to help you with all of that stuff and all the stuff that we talked about today. So Sam and I, we personally coach you and review your copy before you actually deliver it to your clients so that you can ensure that it's top notch. It's basically like having a safety net to ensure that no matter what challenges get thrown at you, no matter what the client is asking, deal structure, negotiation, anything like that, you have someone who's been through all of that before that can tell you exactly what we would do in your situation. And we'll review your copy to make sure that it's top notch and has the best chance of converting. Basically, we're like your personal advisors to make sure that everything you do is really high quality. And if you've applied Sean's teachings and you have copywriting clients, as I hope many of you have, then this is exactly what you need. This is exactly what Sam and I invest in to make sure that everything that we do is top notch. So if you're interested, you can go to samandtylercoaching.com. We'll drop that in the chat. And it's just a simple application to sign up. There's no pressure. This is not a high pressure pitch. We just wanted to let you know that for people that are in Sean's world, this is the next step. Once you figure out how to get those first few clients, you're just at the beginning of a new journey. Sam and I have been through that. Sam is a copywriting expert. I'm a funnel expert. So you'll have two of the best looking over your shoulder, making sure that everything is top notch. So with that, you can apply at samandtylercoaching.com, and we'll send you guys the recording after this call is done. We're going to put together all of the resources that we mentioned. So we'll send over links to the sales pages. I'll send over those example order confirmation emails and follow-up emails that I went over. And you guys will have everything that you need to be able to review the content of this presentation. There's the link. So with that, I think we're good to wrap unless you guys have any other questions. That was an awesome time with all of you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you everyone for being here and being committed to yourselves and your businesses and your growth. Like nothing makes us happier. So first of all, like if you've been here since the beginning of the call, like give yourself a pat on the back, a round of applause. Like you did what most people won't, and that's why you're going to grow.
Seriously. And thank you, Sean, for everything that you do, for bringing all these incredible people together and creating this platform so we can help so many people.
Dude, absolutely. It's been tremendously valuable, no doubt. Thank you guys so much for coming on and doing this. It's been huge. Dude, I was even taking notes throughout that whole thing. Really, really good stuff.
That's right. Awesome. Well, thanks, Sean. Thank you, everybody. And maybe we'll be seeing some of you very soon. Thanks a lot for the time, guys. Good luck with everything. We'll see you guys around.
Peace out.